Chapter 425. Qin Haodong's decision was beyond everyone's expectations. In their opinion, this was a bet that he would definitely lose, but this handsome young man actually agreed. Some people thought that Lin Momo, who was standing behind Qin Haodong, would definitely stop him. After all, it was $10 million. No matter how rich he was, he wouldn't take it out so casually. Unexpectedly, they were disappointed again. Lin Momo didn't respond as if she hadn't heard anything. People sighed. It was a pity that the two good-looking people had mental problems. It seemed that God was still fair. He gave them an enviable appearance, but not a normal brain. Li Wangkai really wanted to earn back the 5 million he had just lost from Qin Haodong. Seeing that Qin Haodong had agreed to his request, he immediately said with joy, "Are you sure?" Qin Haodong said indifferently, "Of course I'm sure. It's just 10 million. It's not a big deal." Li Wangkai quickly said, "Then we'll notarize it at the raw gemstone exhibition now." After that, he took out his checkbook and wrote a check for $10 million. He turned around and handed it to Mao Wenlong, who was standing next to him. "This is my 10 million. Please notarize it at the exhibition." It turned out that the raw gemstone exhibition had this item. In the past, there were often gamblers who gambled with each other. The raw gemstone exhibition would provide free notarization services, but both sides of the bet had to pledge the bet first. "Mr. Qin, do you really want to bet?" Mao Wenlong looked at Qin Haodong with some embarrassment. After all, he was also the guest of the gang leader. He didn't want the young man to lose the bet that could be seen at a glance. "Of course, I want to bet," Qin Haodong said and waved to Lin Momo. Lin Momo immediately wrote a check for $10 million and handed it to Mao Wenlong. Mao Wenlong sighed. Since both sides wanted to bet, he naturally couldn't stop them. He called the staff to verify the checks of both sides on the spot. After confirming that they were real and valid, a standard bet was made and signed by both sides. After getting the bet, Li Wangcai's big oily face immediately smiled like a chrysanthemum. In his opinion, not only had he gotten back the 5 million he had lost, but he had also earned another 5 million. Qin Haodong also smiled with satisfaction. Although $10 million was not a large amount of money, he was willing to see the annoying fat man bleed a little. Originally, many people felt that the stone cutting was boring, but when there was a bet of $10 million, everyone immediately became interested and continued to watch from the side. Some people even bought lunch and sat at the side, eating while watching. Unknowingly, 3 to 4 hours had passed. The 20 stone-cutting masters took turns to work without stopping. The original weight of the suppressing river stone, which weighed 10 tons 3 times, had been removed layer by layer. It was 10 times smaller than the original, leaving only about 2 or 3 tons. Until this moment, there was still no trace of green. Li Wangkai was sitting on the side. The coquettish woman was drinking iced water as she said, "Boy, you'd better admit defeat. Even if you grind this stone into powder, you won't see the shadow of jade." Not only her, but also the onlookers and Mao Wenlong were sure that Qin Haodong had lost the bet. Qin Haodong's expression was still calm. He had already felt that the spiritual qi of the suppressing river stone in front of him was getting stronger and stronger. He should be able to see the jade soon. Seeing that Qin Haodong did not speak, Li Wangkai thought that he had admitted defeat. After a burst of arrogant laughter, he said, "Boy, you really won't give up until you see the coffin. I tell you, if you can cut out the jade from this stone, I will eat it directly." But before he finished speaking, he suddenly heard a stone-cutting master shouting, "It's green, it's green, it's green on my side." Before people could react, another stone-cutting master shouted, "It's green on my side, too. It's green." In a short time, 3 stone-cutting masters shouted that there was green. Someone took the bucket and washed the rubbed place with clean water. Immediately, a rich green appeared. "My God, it's the glutinous rice type. How much is such a large piece of glutinous rice jade worth? What glutinous rice type? I think it's obviously the ice type. Oh my God, my heart is about to jump out. My God, this suppressing river stone turned out to be a big jade. If I had known this, I would have fished it out earlier. The onlookers were suddenly boiling. Some were shocked, some sighed, and some stamped their feet and beat their chests. Especially those who knew about jade, they were so surprised that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It should be known that this jade had 3 windows in different positions. What did this mean? It meant that this suppressing river stone was likely to be full of jade. After such a long time of cutting, the suppressing river stone still weighed more than a ton. Even if some of the stone's skin was erased, it still weighed nearly a ton. It was a high-quality jade between the glutinous rice type and the ice type. Oh my God, how much was it worth? 300 million. 500 million. Or 1 billion. Now the value of the suppressing river stone was simply immeasurable. It should be known that the value of a ton of whole jade was completely different from that of a ton of scattered jade. Some large works of art were small jades, which could not be carved no matter what. Li Wangkai was even more shocked and opened his mouth wide. After a long time, he pushed it with his hand. What the hell was going on? The suppressing river stone, which had been in the river for hundreds of years, turned out to be a great treasure. It had not been discovered for so many years. The most bitter thing was that he had made a bet with Qin Haodong, saying that as long as he cut out a nail-sized jade, he would pay Qin Haodong $10 million. Now, he was completely dumbfounded. Qin Haodong had cut out such a big piece of jade. Not to mention that he could not get back the $5 million, even the $10 million would be Qin Haodong's. Mao Wenlong was also shocked. As the head of the Jade Fair, he would see this suppressing river stone every day, but he had never thought that it was a big treasure. It turned out that Qin Haodong was not stupid, but he was blind. As the president of Lin's group, Lin Momo naturally knew the value of this unprecedented big jade. She was so excited that she grabbed Qin Haodong's hand and couldn't speak. She didn't expect that this man would bring her such a big surprise. Relatively speaking, Qin Haodong had already made sufficient predictions about this stone before, so he was still very calm. He said to a dozen stonecutters who were standing there like wax figures, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and work." Although these stonecutters had dealt with raw jade stones all year round, they had never seen such a big raw jade stone, let alone such a big jade, so they were just shocked. Now, after being woken up by Qin Haodong, they started the stone-cutting machine again and began to rub a huge piece of jade. "Sir, don't cut it anymore." With a stiff Wuxia language, a tall Indian businessman came over, followed by 7 or 8 bodyguards. He came to Qin Haodong and said excitedly, "Sir, I want to buy your jade. How about I pay $100 million, $100 million. Many people who had just closed their mouths were shocked again. Although they had already realized that this jade was very valuable, they did not expect that the Indian businessman would offer $100 million as soon as he opened his mouth. It should be known that Qin Haodong did not spend a penny. This big treasure from the river could be sold for $100 million. This was a good deal with high profits. However, Qin Haodong did not care about the sky-high price in other people's eyes at all. The value of this suppressing river stone was definitely more than $100 million. It was at least 10 times more. He said to the Indian businessman, "I'm sorry, I have no intention of selling this stone." Seeing that Qin Haodong refused him, the Indian businessman quickly said, "Do you think this price is too low? I can add 20 million more, $120 million. How about that?" Before Qin Haodong could speak, 2 more stonecutters shouted one after another, "It's green. Mine is also green." Now there were 5 windows on this suppressing river stone, all in different positions, which further proved that the jade in this stone was definitely not small. Seeing this situation, the Indian businessman gritted his teeth and said, 150 million US dollars. Little brother, this is a lot of money, equivalent to 1 billion yuan. Sell it to me. I really want to buy it back. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, it's not about money. I really don't intend to sell this stone. I won't sell it even if you give me 1 billion US dollars, let alone 150 million US dollars. Seeing that he really had no intention of selling it, the Indian businessman could only shake his head regretfully. Then, he took out a golden business card from his pocket and gave it to Qin Haodong. Little brother, if you have any intention of selling this jade, you must contact me. The price is negotiable. After that, he left with his men. Qin Haodong took the business card and looked at it. This Indian was really rich. The business card was made of pure gold. He smiled and put the business card in his pocket. Then, he looked at Li Wangkai next to him and said happily, how about it? Now, has our bet come to an end? Li Wangkai smiled awkwardly and said with a flattering face, little brother, you're really lucky. I'm here to congratulate you. You see that your stone is worth so much money. Can we forget our bet? After that, he looked at Qin Haodong expectantly, hoping that the young Wuxia man would be happy enough to waive his bet. However, he was disappointed. Qin Haodong said with a smile, this bet was proposed by you. Although I am very rich, a grasshopper's leg is also meat. Naturally, I will take the money I won. After that, he waved to Mao Wenlong. Mao Wenlong immediately sent 2 checks of 10 million US dollars to Qin Haodong's hand. Seeing that Qin Haodong really took away his 10 million US dollars, Li Wangkai was very angry. He scolded in his heart, you picked up a stone at random. Others rushed to give you 1 billion yuan, but you didn't sell it. Why did you rob me of my little money? But he had to admit defeat. Their bet was carried out under the notarization of the Jade Gang. Since he had lost, he dared not say anything. In just a few minutes, more than a dozen windows were opened on the raw jade stone. Each window was full of green. Obviously, there was a large piece of complete jade inside the suppressing river stone. Well, don't wipe it anymore. Qin Haodong stopped those stone cutters. This suppressing river stone had already had the effect he wanted. There was no need to cut it out completely. Looking at such a large piece of jade in front of them, many people couldn't help but drool. A touch of greed flashed in Li Wangcai's eyes. He took out his mobile phone and walked out of the crowd. Chapter 426. Li Wangkai found a quiet place and asked the beautiful woman to stand guard. Then he took out his mobile phone and dialed his cousin Ma Yu's phone number. There were 3 major gangs in the Golden Triangle. Ma Yu joined the Lutheran Society when he was a teenager and was now a leader. Ma Yu was still sound asleep even though it was already noon, as he had been tossing and turning with a woman last night until dawn. After being woken up by the phone, he looked at the number in a daze and picked up the phone with dissatisfaction. Li Wangkai, what's the matter? You're disturbing my sleep. Although Li Wangkai was worth more than 100 million, he still needed to rely on Ma Yu to survive in Myanmar, so Ma Yu was not polite when talking to him. Li Wangkai said excitedly, cousin, here's the thing. There's a good opportunity to make a fortune, so I'm calling you. If you have something to say it quickly. What the hell is going on? Cousin, I came to the raw gemstone exhibition of the Jade Gang today. Guess what I saw? A big piece of jade that weighs a ton, and it can reach the level of ice type. *T. Li Wangkai was immediately interrupted by Ma Yu, who scolded, do you think I'm a fool? I've been in Myanmar for decades, and I've never heard of a ton of jadeite. Even the F*King raw gemstones rarely weigh a ton. How dare you say that the jadeite weighs a ton? Are you kidding me? It's true, cousin. Let me finish. So Li Wangkai told the whole story of his conflict with Qin Haodong at the raw gemstone exhibition, until he finally fished out the suppressing river stone and cut out a huge jade. Finally, he said, "Cousin, you didn't see the quality of that jade. There was a businessman from India who offered $1 billion, but that guy didn't sell it." In order to attract Ma Yu's attention, Li Huangkai directly increased the price tenfold. In fact, the jade was indeed worth the price. Ma Yu jumped up from the bed and said sleepily, "Are you sure it's $1 billion? Are you kidding me? It's all true. I lost $15 million at the raw gemstone exhibition. How dare I fool my cousin?" After a pause, Li Huangkai said, "Cousin, if you can get that raw stone worth $1 billion, can you return my $15 million to me and give me a little reward?" Having been in the Lutheran society for so many years, Ma Yu was quite smart. He thought for a moment and said, "I can't make such a big decision on my own. Come and find me now. Let's go see the president together. Don't worry. With the president's temper, as long as you're telling the truth, you'll be rewarded." He was very clear about the value of that jade. $1 billion was a huge fortune. It could definitely make all the gangs in Myanmar crazy. Although Li Huangkai had repeatedly belittled Qin Haodong, he knew that Qin Haodong was definitely not an ordinary person who could get such a large amount of wealth. Moreover, even if Qin Haodong was ordinary, there was still the Jade Gang. There were three major gangs in the Golden Triangle. The Jade Gang mainly dealt in jade, the White Wolf Gang mainly dealt in drugs, and the Lutheran Society mainly dealt in casinos. However, they were all gangs in essence. They would not let go of such a large amount of wealth. Therefore, he decided to report the situation to Ruanzhendong, the president of the Lutheran Society. Only the president could get the treasure. Half an hour later, Li Huangkai and Ma Yu appeared in the small conference room of the Lutheran Society. 4 people sat opposite them. The leader was Ruanzhendong, the president of the Lutheran Society. The other 3 were his younger brothers, Ruanzhennan, Ruanzhenshi, and Ruanzhenbei. They were all vice presidents of the Lutheran Society. The 4 brothers of the Ruan family supported the whole Lutheran Society. They were also known as the 4 heroes of the Ruan family. Ruanzhendong glanced at Ma Yu and said, "Ask your cousin to tell me the situation again." He had just received a separate report from Ma Yu. Now he needed to explain the situation to his brothers and then discuss what to do next. Ruanzhendong waved his hand and asked Ma Yu to take Li Huangkai out of the conference room after Li Huangkai told him how to get the sky-high jade from the suppressing river stone. He said to his 3 brothers, "What do you think of this?" Ruanzhenbei immediately cried, "Brother, what's there to hesitate about? I'll immediately take people to the raw gemstone exhibition venue and grab the jade. Such a good thing can only belong to our Lutheran Society." Ruanzhendong frowned and said, "Brother, when can you change your hot temper and think about problems with your brain?" Ruanzhenbei smiled and said, "Brother, I'm a rough man. You 3 can do the thinking. Tell me when you're ready. I'll do it immediately." Ruanzhendong ignored him and turned to look at the other 2 brothers. Ruanzhenshi said, "Brother, we must get this jade. After all, it's worth $1 billion. But now it's in the hands of the Jade Gang. If we go to grab it, we must be fully prepared." Ruanzhenbei said, "It's not a big deal. Now the strength of the Jade Gang has been greatly damaged. How can they be a match for our Lutheran Society? Moreover, General Li's site has a clear ban that forbids us from using guns when we fight with each other. If we don't use guns, even if the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang join hands, they won't be a match for our Lutheran Society. At worst, I'll take the Bloody Clothes team and break Lu Hankuan's bones in 2 or 3 moves." The reason why he spoke so confidently was that the Lutheran Society had its own specialties. Among the 3 major gangs, they were in the gambling business. Half of the gambling business was in casinos, and the other half was in underground boxing arenas. Because they controlled the underground boxing arena, many underground boxers directly joined the Lutheran Society after they were injured or retired, so that the people of the Lutheran society were much stronger than those of the other two gangs. Moreover, General Lee Sight had a ban on the three gangs, which was that they were strictly prohibited from using firearms. It should be known that the three gangs were all profitable businesses. They were all his cash cows. It was inevitable that the gangs would fight with each other, but they had to be protected as much as possible. That was why Lee Sight came up with such an idea. If they didn't use guns, there wouldn't be too many casualties after all. Wan Zhendong nodded and didn't say anything. He turned to look at Wan Zhennan, who had been silent. Compared with the two brothers, Wan Zhennan's character was much more gloomy. However, among the four brothers, he played the role of the brain, and was known as Xiao Zhuge in the gang. Wan Zhennan said, "Brother, this is a good opportunity. We must seize it, but don't limit ourselves to this stone. We have to take a long-term view." Wan Zhenxi said, "Second brother, have you thought of any good ideas?" Wan Zhenbei said casually, "Second brother, I really don't know what your brain is made of. Your brain is full of evil ideas. I wonder if we were born from the same mother." "Shut up." Wan Zhendong glared at him and then said to Wan Zhennan, "Second brother, tell me, what do you think?" Wan Zhennan said, "Now there are three major gangs in the Golden Triangle. The Serious Gang has changed its leader twice in just 3 months. I heard that a large number of people were injured in the fight with the Hong Kong Triad. Their strength is far less than before. The Jade Gang was indeed very strong when Zhou Tianhu was there, but now it was replaced by the old Lu Hankuan. Moreover, a lot of strength was lost in the internal fight. Now there are still some people in the gang who are trusted by Zhou Tianhu. They don't support Lu Hankuan, but they don't dare to show it. In this case, even if the two gangs join hands, they won't be a match for our Lutheran society. The reason why we didn't take action before was that we didn't find a suitable opportunity, and secondly, we had to respect General Lee Sight. But now the opportunity is here." Wan Zhenbei said with a confused face, "Aren't we talking about the stone with a sky-high price of $1 billion? Why is it related to the Jade Gang again? And why did the opportunity come?" Wan Zhendong glared at him again and said, "Don't talk. Listen to your second brother slowly." Wan Zhennan said, "At the beginning, General Lee Sight divided the boundaries between our three gangs. We and the Jade Gang were divided by this river, but he never said that this river also belonged to the Jade Gang. Now the Jade Gang fished out the suppressing river stone in the river and sold it to that young man. We can think that they robbed our treasure. Since he dared to rob our suppressing river stone, we dare to rob his raw gemstone exhibition. I believe that they must have sold it for a lot of money today. Later, we will send someone to collect it together with the stone." After that, a smug sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Good idea, really good idea." Wan Zhendong patted his thigh and cried, "No one expected that there would be such a large piece of jade in the suppressing river stone. It not only gave us a fortune, but also gave us a chance to annex the Jade Gang. Now the Jade Gang violated the rules first. Even if we annex the raw gemstone exhibition, General Lee Sight can't blame us." Yuan Jinshi said, "Second brother deserves to be called Xiao Zhuge. It's really admirable that you can think so far from a stone." Wan Zhenbei cried, "Don't talk nonsense. You do the thinking. I'll do the rest. I'll call a few brothers and go over there to grab the raw gemstone exhibition." Wan Zhennan said, "This time, we are going to take them by surprise. We must succeed in one strike. So, you take 10 members of the Bloody Clothes team there. We must grab the raw gemstone exhibition and that piece of expensive jade." Wan Zhenbei agreed and immediately went out with his men. From the beginning to the end, when the four brothers of the Ruan family considered the problem, they only took the Jade Gang into account. They never considered the owner of this piece of expensive jade. In their opinion, Qin Haodong was just an ordinary businessman from Huaxiao. At worst, he would be killed and thrown into the river. In a place like Myanmar, no one cared. In the raw gemstone exhibition. Since getting this huge piece of jade, Qin Haodong had lost interest in other raw gemstones. He no longer wandered around. He sat directly on the huge piece of jade with the little fellow in his arms. This piece of jade was also magical. Although the sun was scorching and the surrounding was hot, as long as one was around it, one would not feel hot. On the contrary, it was very cool. Lin Momo came to Qin Haodong's side and whispered, "Haodong, should we transport this piece of jade back to Wuxia as soon as possible? It's too dangerous to leave it here." She was very clear about the situation in Myanmar. Even if the Jade Gang didn't want to take such a valuable piece of jade, there were other gangs. The sooner the better. Qin Haodong didn't care. He teased the little fellow and said, "What's the hurry? This is my bait. I haven't caught a big fish yet. How can I transport it away?" Chapter 427. Lin Momo was stunned and asked, "What do you mean? Fishing? Fishing for what?" Qin Haodong said, "There are a total of 3 gangs in the Golden Triangle. Now the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang have been greatly damaged. Only the Lutheran Society is left. Do you think they can be at ease?" Lin Momo said subconsciously, "What does it have to do with us?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course it does. Our new jade mine is about to be put into production. If Lu Hankuan can't completely control the situation of the Burmese gangs, there will be constant trouble. They dare not touch General Li Site's shares, but they will inevitably want to get a share of the profits from us, the Jade Gang, and the White Wolf Gang. Instead of dealing with it at that time, it's better to solve all the troubles together now." Lin Momo seemed to understand and said, "You mean, the Lutheran Society will come to grab this jade?" "Of course." Qin Haodong stroked the jade and said, "This is a good thing worth more than $1 billion. If such a good bait can't catch fish, then the gangs are not gangs." Lin Momo suddenly understood. At first, she was a little strange. Since Qin Haodong knew that there was a high price of jade in the stone, why did he want to cut it here? As the saying goes, don't show your wealth. Once others knew the value of the stone, they would definitely have bad ideas. It was safest to take it back to Wuxia to cut it. Now she knew that Qin Haodong was waiting for trouble to come to him. Fortunately, he would solve it before returning to Wuxia. Qin Haodong really thought so. The Golden Triangle was not too big. The 3 gangs had spies among each other. He believed that it would not take long for the Lutheran Society to receive the news. As long as they dared to take the stone, even if he did not destroy the Lutheran Society, he would make them lose a lot of strength. At the same time, in a corner of the raw gemstone exhibition, Mao Wenlong was talking to Lu Hankuan on the phone. "Boss, it's like this. After so many years, no one expected that there was a treasure hidden in the stone. According to my preliminary estimate, the value of the jade is at least more than $1 billion. Speaking of this, Mao Wenlong paused and said with a little hesitation, "Boss, that stone was given to Mr. Qin by us. We didn't sell it. Do you think we should take it back?" On the other side of the phone, Lu Hankuan said in a cold voice, "Mao Wenlong, let me tell you, even if the jade is worth $10 billion, you are not allowed to have any bad ideas about it. Otherwise, be careful of your head." Mao Wenlong was so scared that his whole body trembled. He quickly said, "I know, gang leader." At the same time, he was also full of doubts. Now the Jade Gang was short of money. It was $1 billion. Why wasn't the leader tempted at all? Could it be that the young man from Wuxia had some special background? Considering that Mao Wenlong was his confidant, Lu Hankuan said, "Let me tell you, Mr. Qin is a distinguished guest of our Jade Gang. You can't offend him, and you can't afford to offend him. Even if you dare to do anything to that raw jade stone, you will get nothing in the end. On the contrary, you will lose your life." The outside world didn't know how Lu Hankuan regained the throne of the gang leader, but he knew very well that Qin had easily killed Zhou Tianhu and sent a maid to suppress the whole Jade Gang. This kind of person could only be a friend, and absolutely could not be provoked. Seeing that Lu Hanquan was so serious, Mao Wenlong knew that the young man from Wuxia was definitely not as simple as he looked. He said, "Boss, Mr. Qin didn't immediately take the expensive jade away after he cut it out. Instead, he left it in the raw gemstone exhibition. It's not far from the Lutheran Society. I'm afraid they will have some bad ideas." Lu Hanquan said, "You don't have to worry about what Dr. Qin does. He has his reasons for what he wants to do. You just need to serve him carefully. Remember that you must treat him like your ancestor. Don't offend him." After hanging up the phone, he pondered for a moment. Then he sneered and murmured, "Lutheran Society, don't let me down. You must make trouble for Dr. Qin. I believe you will be very surprised." Although the weather was very hot in the raw gemstone exhibition, people were still enthusiastic. They kept choosing the stones they liked. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the distance. Then the guests of the exhibition began to scatter and run to the other side. Soon the crowd dispersed. In the center of the large exhibition hall, there were only Qin Haodong's family of 3 sitting on the stone to enjoy the cool, and the 6 members of the divine mercenaries who were guarding next to them. It looked a little abrupt. Looking at a group of people rushing from a distance, Qin Haodong sneered. The Lutheran Society did not let him down. They came earlier than expected. On the side of the Lutheran Society, the leader was Ruan Zhenbei. Behind him were 10 big men in blood-red clothes. These people looked ferocious and full of killing intent. It was obvious that their hands were stained with blood. They were the core force of the Lutheran Society, the famous Bloody Clothes team. They were all the elite selected from the underground boxing field. Not only were they skilled, but they were also not afraid of death. Behind the blood-clothed team, there were 40 or 50 black-clothed men holding various weapons. They were also murderous, just like demons. On the side of the raw gemstone exhibition, the Jade Gang also arranged a lot of people to guard there. Under the leadership of Mao Wenlong, 60 or 70 people immediately gathered there with weapons in their hands. However, after seeing Ruan Zhenbei and the Bloody Clothes team behind him, Mao Wenlong immediately frowned. He was very clear about the strength of the Bloody Clothes team. Everyone's skills were no less than his, and they were not afraid of death. Usually, the Lutheran Society rarely used the Bloody Clothes team. Unexpectedly, there were 10 of them that day. It seemed that they were determined to get the expensive jade. Although he was afraid, Mao Wenlong didn't show it on the surface. He took 2 steps forward and said to Ruan Zhenbei, "President Ruan, this is the territory of the Jade Gang. What do you mean by this?" Ruan Zhenbei didn't take Mao Wenlong seriously at all. He looked around and saw the huge jade under Qin Haodong's buttocks at a glance. Under the illumination of the sun, the dozen or so windows on this piece of jade emitted a heart-stirring green light. Good stuff, it's really good stuff. Although Ruan Zhenbei was a rough man, he knew that this piece of jade was definitely a treasure. He turned to Mao Wenlong and shouted, "How dare you Jade Gang rob our Lutheran Society's things?" Mao Wenlong said in a cold voice, "President Ruan, what do you mean? We have never interfered with each other. When did the Jade Gang rob the things of the Lutheran Society? This is the evidence." Ruan Zhenbei pointed to the jade under Qin Haodong's buttocks and said, "General Li Site said very clearly that this side of the river is the territory of your Jade Gang. But this river belongs to our Lutheran Society, and the suppressing river stone in it naturally belongs to our Lutheran Society. When did your Jade Gang give it away? Isn't this robbing?" Mao Wenlong knew very well that these people came for the expensive jade, but he still argued, "Ruan Zhenbei, what you said is wrong. Although General Li Site said that we drew the boundary across the river, he didn't say that this river belongs to your Lutheran Society. Naturally, the suppressing river stone doesn't belong to you." Ruan Zhenbei shouted rudely, don't talk nonsense. I said that it belongs to our Lutheran society, which means that we entered the parliament. Now your jade gang robbed our things. Not only do you have to take out this jade to return it to us, but you also have to hand over the raw gemstone exhibition as compensation. Mao Wenlong stared at him and said angrily, Ruan Zhenbei, are you going to rob us? Ruan Zhenbei laughed and said, since you said it's a robbery, then it's a robbery. You can rob our suppressing river stone, and we can also rob your raw gemstone exhibition. In this world, the strong prey on the weak. Whoever's fist is harder is the truth. Mao Wenlong still wanted to say something, but he felt someone patting him on the shoulder. He turned around and saw Qin Haodong standing beside him with the little fellow in his arms. Don't talk nonsense with them. These people are obviously here to rob. It's useless to talk more. He took 2 steps forward and came to Ruan Zhenbei. He said with a smile, you said that whoever's fist is harder is the truth. Ruan Zhenbei didn't put Qin Haodong in his eyes at all. At this time, seeing that Qin Haodong took the initiative to come to him, he said with a gloomy look, I said that. What do you think? Boy, if you know what's good for you, you'd better give me that piece of jade. If I'm happy, I can spare your life. You want that piece of jade? Sure. But your fist must be hard enough. Qin Haodong stretched out his hand, raised his fist and looked at it. He nodded with satisfaction and said leisurely, but I think my fist is harder. So you people, take out all the money in your pockets and get out of here. Puff, Ruan Zhenbei was so angry that he almost vomited blood. These people were obviously here to rob, but this toy boy actually asked him to leave the money. Was he crazy? The bloody clothes team behind him also showed fierce eyes and tightly held the big knives in their hands. As long as Ruan Zhenbei gave the order, they would immediately cut Qin Haodong into pieces. Mao Wenlong seemed to feel the tension in the atmosphere. He whispered in Qin Haodong's ear, Mr. Qin, those people in red clothes are very powerful. You must be careful. Qin Haodong didn't mean to lower his voice at all. He glanced at the 10 people of the bloody clothes team and said jokingly, what's so powerful about them? Aren't they wearing red clothes? Is it to scare people after death? But it's usually the female ghosts in red who are powerful. Even if they become ghosts, they won't be so powerful. Mao Wenlong still wanted to say something, but when he thought of Lu Hankuan's admiration for Qin Haodong, he finally held back and didn't speak. He also wanted to see what was so special about this young man. Seeing that the Wuxia man in front of him dared to provoke him again and again, Ruan Zhenbei's eyes flashed fiercely. He waved his hand and said, kill him. As soon as his voice fell, a big man rushed out of the bloody clothes team and slashed at Qin Haodong with a big knife in his hand. In the past, others would tremble with fear when they saw the bloody clothes team, but this reckless guy in front of him dared to compare them to female ghosts. The big man was so angry that he would naturally not show mercy. He slashed at Qin Haodong's neck fiercely. Qin Haodong glanced at the big man in red and didn't pay any attention to him. Mao Wenlong was shocked. He knew very well how powerful the bloody clothes team was. The young man in front of him was holding a child, but he was still so arrogant in front of the bloody clothes team. Wasn't he looking for death? Just as he was about to step forward to help, suddenly a figure flashed, and a man had already stood in front of Qin Haodong. Then the big man in red screamed and flew more than 10 meters into the air. He began to vomit blood in mid-air. The blood stained his red clothes, which looked particularly strange and dazzling. Chapter 428. It was Saber who killed the red-clothed man in front of him with a casual punch. Although the bloody clothes team was extremely terrible in the eyes of others, in their opinion, they were not even qualified for Qin Haodong to fight. This time, everyone was shocked. Whether it was Mao Wenlong's side or Ruan Zhenbei's side, they were all shocked by Saber's punch. No one expected that the bloody clothes team, which had always been fierce, could not even resist a punch from the man in front of them. Looking at the red-clothed man who was still vomiting blood, the little fellow clapped her hands and cried, "Idiot, what a big idiot." Qin Haodong looked at the dull Yuan Zhenbei and said with a smile, "How about it? I said my fist is harder. Do you believe it now? Isn't there a master? What's the big deal? I have a lot of people here." After Yuan Zhenbei finished speaking, he waved to the people behind him and said, "Let's go together and kill him." After receiving his order, the remaining 9 members of the Bloody Clothes team rushed up and rushed toward Qin Haodong and Saber with a murderous look. Qin Haodong's figure flashed, and sword and spear also rushed up and stood side by side with Saber. Although they were still at a disadvantage in terms of numbers, they were all masters who had entered the covert power level. How could they pay attention to the Bloody Clothes team in front of them? Although it was 1 against 3, it was still a crushing victory. Within a breath, all 9 members of the Bloody Clothes team were put down to the ground. Looking at the 10 people who fell to the ground, Qin Haodong stopped smiling and said, "Didn't you say that their fists are hard? Then I'll cripple all their fists." He had long seen that these people of the Bloody Clothes team were full of blood. It could be seen that everyone's hands were stained with blood, so he asked Saber and others to directly cripple their hands. After receiving Qin Haodong's order, Saber quickly came to a red-clothed man and stepped on his right hand. Then there was a terrible sound of bones cracking and the red-clothed man's miserable cry. However, the Saber was not affected in the slightest. Then, he stepped forward and crushed the red-clothed man's left hand. From now on, he could no longer hold a saber, clench his fists, or do evil. He had completely become a cripple. Sword and spear also did the same. In the blink of an eye, all 10 members of the Bloody Clothes team had their hands destroyed. Yuan Zhenbei was completely dumbfounded. The Bloody Clothes team was the biggest reliance of the Lutheran society. In the past, every time they went out, they were successful. There were only 30 members in total. Today, in order to win the Raw Gemstone exhibition, they brought 10 of them. But never in his wildest dreams did he expect that he would be crippled as soon as he arrived here. Mao Wenlong's heart also set off stormy waves. No wonder Lu Hankuan was so respectful to this young man. He really had strength. The Bloody Clothes team, which made them tremble in fear in the past, was easily beaten like a dog. Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward, looked at Yuan Zhenbei coldly and said, "It's your turn. Let's see if your fist is hard or not." Meeting Qin Haodong's eyes, Yuan Zhenbei's heart trembled and he involuntarily took 2 steps back. He was originally a very swift and fierce person, but after seeing this gaze, he didn't even have the courage to make a move. He took another look at Saber and others, who were staring at him covetously. He knew that he had miscalculated. Qin Haodong did not only have 1 master bodyguard, but also any one of them was a master. Although there were still 40 or 50 men in black standing behind him, these people were not as strong as the Bloody Clothes team. Qin Haodong still had 3 people on his side who had not made a move. Under such circumstances, they had been completely at a disadvantage. Seeing his fearful eyes, Qin Haodong knew that he was a bully and feared the strong. He said disdainfully, "What? You don't dare to compete? Since you've admitted defeat, then do as I say. Leave all your money behind and get the hell out of here." Although Yuan Zhenbei was afraid, he still couldn't let go of his pride. After all, he was the vice president of the Lutheran Society. Originally, he came to rob others, but he was robbed by others. What face would he have if it was spread out? "Boy, don't go too far. I'm Yuan Zhenbei of the Lutheran Society." Now, he could only use the name of the Lutheran Society, hoping to suppress the little white face in front of him. Lutheran Society? Even if it's the Heaven and Earth Society or the Red Flower Society, I will still beat them. Qin Haodong said, "Since you come to rob my things, you should be prepared to be robbed." Qin Haodong waved to Saber and Mao Wenlong and said, take all their money. If they resist, break their limbs immediately. Got it, boss. Saber answered. He came to Ruan Zhenbei and said with a smile, "Boy, do you want to pay by yourself, or do you want me to do it?" Mao Wenlong and his men all laughed. Asking the vice president of the Lutheran Society for money was not a robbery at all, but a slap in the face. Ruan Zhenbei's face turned red. In the end, he couldn't control his anger. He shouted, "I'll kill you." After that, he punched hard at Saber's face. This guy had been practicing martial arts since he was a child, and his skills were really good. He was even better than those people in the Bloody Clothes team. It was a pity that he was facing Saber of the Divine Mercenaries, a strong man who had entered the threshold of covert power. Saber raised his hand and punched at Ruan Zhenbei's fist. It seemed to be an understatement and he didn't use much strength, but after the two fists collided, there was a muffled bang, and then Ruan Zhenbei let out a heart-wrenching scream. It turned out that his fist was really not hard enough. Just like that, not only were the phalanges of his 5 fingers all broken, but even his arm was shaken off. Saber sneered and said, "How about it? Do you want to do it again?" Ruan Zhenbei had been completely frightened by this punch. He didn't have the courage to make another move. Knowing that he had met a tough opponent today, he could only endure the pain and then use his remaining left hand to take out the wallet in his pocket while trembling. Seeing that the vice president had given in, the men in black behind him didn't dare to act rashly. They obediently let Mao Wenlong's men search them. It was a pity that they came out to rob. They didn't think that they would be robbed. Their pockets were empty and they didn't bring anything. Seeing that he only got Ruan Zhenbei's wallet, which contained dozens of US dollars, Qin Haodong was obviously not satisfied with the result. He glanced at the silent men in black and said lightly, "Since you have no money, take off all your clothes. Just leave a pair of underwear for each of you." Hearing that Qin Haodong was going to take off their clothes, Ruan Zhenbei shouted angrily, "Boy, you can kill me but you can't humiliate me. Don't go too far." "Really? You're quite courageous." Qin Haodong sneered and said to Ruan Zhenbei and his men, "Since you came here to rob, you should be prepared to be robbed. I'll give you 2 ways. First, take off your clothes and get out of here. Second, that's death." Speaking of this, he was full of strong killing intent. He pointed to a line in front of him and said, "I'll give you 1 minute. Those who choose the first way stand on the left, and those who choose the second way stand on the right." Seeing Qin Haodong's eyes full of killing intent, no one would doubt that he was joking. In less than half a minute, all the men in black were on his left side. Even the members of the Bloody Clothes team who were seriously injured and fell to the ground crawled to the left. Obviously, they could be killed but they could not be humiliated. This sentence was not suitable for them. In the end, only Ruan Zhenbei was left standing there alone. After hesitating for a moment, he lowered his head and ran to the left. Qin Haodong smiled playfully and waved his hand to Mao Wenlong. Mao Wenlong immediately asked his men to strip all the clothes of Ruan Zhenbei and the others, leaving only a pair of underwear for each of them. Although the temperature in Burma was very high and they did not feel cold wearing only a pair of underwear, it was not their clothes that were taken off, but everyone's face, the face of the Lutheran Society. After today, the power of the Lutheran Society in the Golden Triangle would inevitably plummet. Soon, Ruan Zhenbei ran out of the raw gemstone exhibition with a group of almost naked men. When they came, almost everyone thought that they would make a fortune. No one expected that they would be robbed and run back with only a pair of underwear. The people of the Lutheran Society were driven away, and the raw gemstone exhibition returned to normal. Originally, those guests did not really leave, but hid far away to watch the fun. Now that everything was fine, they came back again. Mao Wenlong was extremely excited. He had been fighting with the Lutheran Society for so long. Most of the time, he was at a disadvantage, but he had never been so happy. He came to Qin Haodong and said respectfully, Mr. Qin, what about these clothes? His previous respect was superficial, because it was because of Lu Hankuan's order. At this time, his respect was completely from the bottom of his heart. He knew that this young man was definitely an existence that he looked up to. Do whatever you want. It's up to you. Qin Haodong stripped these people's clothes in order to defeat the Lutheran Society's momentum. Now that the purpose had been achieved, these clothes were no longer useful. He said again, find a pickup truck, put this jade in the car, and then send it to Wuxia for me. Mao Wenlong now understood why Qin Haodong was not in a hurry to take this jade away. It turned out that he wanted to lure the Lutheran Society. He said, don't worry, Mr. Qin. I will send more people to send it safely to Wuxia. Qin Haodong said, no need. You can send a driver. Mao Wenlong was stunned and said quickly, Mr. Qin, this is not a safe place. Now many people are staring at this jade. If we don't protect it well, it will be easily taken away. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, it doesn't matter. Whoever wants to take it can do it. Tell your driver to run immediately in case of danger. Don't lose your life for this stone. This. Mr. Qin, are you kidding? Mao Wenlong was completely stunned. He felt that his IQ could not keep up with the young man in front of him. If it had been before, he would have thought that Qin Haodong was a madman. But from fishing the suppressing river stone to defeating the Lutheran Society, it all showed the unique wisdom of this young man. It was not that Qin Haodong was an idiot, but that his IQ could not keep up. Qin Haodong said, of course I'm not kidding. Just do as I say. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. Mao Wenlong agreed and immediately asked someone to drive a pickup truck. The jade stone, which was worth $1 billion, was loaded into the truck. Then, he found a piece of canvas and wrapped it according to Qin Haodong's instructions. Qin Haodong and the others did not stay there any longer. They left the raw gemstone exhibition with the pickup truck. After leaving the exhibition, Qin Haodong asked Saber to give the driver of the pickup truck $10,000 and a few packs of cigarettes. Then, he let the driver drive away. Looking at the back of the pickup truck, Lin Momo asked doubtfully, Haodong, is this okay? Could it have been robbed? Qin Haodong said with a smile, of course, the Lutheran Society will definitely take it away. Sorry, it was messed up during the festival. I sent it once, and my wife sent it again. I'm changing the content now. I promise you won't spend a penny more. Chapter 429. Lin Momo didn't understand why Qin Haodong would take the initiative to give such a precious jade to others. She asked in surprise, what do you mean? Qin Haodong smiled and said, don't be nervous. I've just put the jade in the storage ring. Now it's just a large piece of ordinary stone under the canvas. Whoever wants to grab it can grab it. At this time, the little fellow said, Papa, where are we going now? Qin Haodong said, now let's go to eat delicious food, and then go to a fun place in the evening. At the headquarters of the Lutheran Society, Huan Zhendong couldn't believe his eyes when he saw Huan Zhenbei and dozens of men left with only a pair of underwear. After so many years, when had the Lutheran Society ever suffered such a big loss? It was so humiliating. And now it was not just humiliating. Huan Zhenbei's right hand was disabled, and the 10 members of the Bloody Clothes team were all disabled, which made the strength of the Lutheran Society suffer a great loss. This situation made Huan Zhennan, who had always been calm, change his expression greatly. He asked, Fourth brother, what the hell is going on? In his opinion, it should be very easy for the Lutheran Society to send so many elites to wipe out a raw gemstone exhibition under the Jade Gang. How could they suffer such a big loss? Eldest brother, second brother, you must avenge me. That guy is such a bully. At this time, Huan Zhenbei had lost his previous tough image. As he spoke, he cried with snot and tears. No wonder he was on the verge of a breakdown. With the strength of the Lutheran Society, he had never suffered a loss for so many years. Yet today, not only had one of his arms been crippled, he'd even been stripped to the point that he was only left with a pair of underwear. Not only had he suffered a mental blow, but he'd also suffered a mental blow, and it was truly difficult for him to endure. After hearing this, Huan Zhendong's face was gloomy as if it was about to drip water. He waved his hand and said, "Arrange for the best doctor to treat the injured brothers immediately." Huan Zhenbei was taken away. Huan Zhendong glanced at Huan Zhennan and Huan Zhenxi and said in a cold voice, "Since our Lutheran society became one of the three gangs in the Golden Triangle, we have never suffered such a big loss. If we don't get back at them, I'm afraid we will be the laughing stock of the whole Burma in the future." Huan Zhennan said, "It's my fault. We only considered the Jade Gang, but we didn't expect the guy who bought the stone to be so strong." Huan Zhenxi said angrily, "So what if you're strong? He's not a member of our Golden Triangle's three major gangs. I'll bring dozens of gunmen to kill him later. No matter how powerful he is, can he be more powerful than a gun?" In his opinion, the Lutheran society had suffered such a great loss because they didn't have guns. Huan Zhennan said, "Don't worry. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. This time, we must find out the details of that person and find out if he has any other hidden strength. Then, we will take action." Huan Zhendong said, "Second brother is right. This time, we must be fully prepared. We must not suffer any more losses. We must find out what that guy does and what relationship he has with the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang. In addition, we have already suffered such a big loss today. We must get that piece of jade worth $1 billion. Otherwise, the loss outweighs the gain." Huan Zhenxi said, "Brother, I'll bring dozens of gunmen to get the stone back immediately." At that moment, Huan Zhendong's phone rang. He picked up the phone and listened. Soon, he put down the phone and said, "The spy we planted in the raw gemstone exhibition sent the news. It said that the guy has loaded the expensive jade on a pickup truck and is now sending it to Huaxia. Good opportunity." Huan Zhenxi said excitedly, "Once the Jade Gang leaves, the expensive jade will belong to our Lutheran society. No one can take it away. I'll take people there now." Huan Zhendong said, "Don't worry. It's weird. After the guy loaded the expensive jade on the pickup truck, he didn't even send a guard. He just let the driver drive away. Don't worry. I'll take gunmen there. No matter how many masters he sends, it's useless." Huan Zhenxi suddenly came to his senses and asked in surprise, "What? Not a single guard? Brother, did you hear it wrong?" "Yes, I heard it clearly. The pickup truck did not have any protection at all." Huan Zhendong frowned and said, "It's really strange. Normally, a good thing worth $1 billion should be protected with all their strength. Why is there no guard? It seems that they want it to be taken away. What's wrong with it?" Huan Zhenxi said, "Brother, is it possible that the car is loaded with a fake stone? Was the expensive jade really hidden by him?" Huan Zhendong said, "That's impossible. Our people have been watching them. They saw them load the expensive jade into the car with their own eyes. Moreover, this jade weighs about a ton. It's not a small thing that can be taken away casually in a pocket. The young man left empty-handed. It's impossible to change it. Is the driver a master who can fight against 100 people alone? No. Our people have found out. The guy is called Abada. He's just an ordinary driver at the raw gemstone exhibition. He can do nothing but driving. That's really strange." Huan Zhenxi thought for a moment, then suddenly slapped his thigh and cried, "I understand, brother. That guy must know that it's useless to defend, so he simply used an empty city strategy to scare us. That's also possible." Huan Zhendong thought for a moment and turned to look at Huan Zhennan. "Second brother, what do you think?" Huan Zhennan shook his head and said, "It's too strange. I can't see through it. How about this? I'll take some people with third brother. Don't rush to do it. Let's see the situation first. Ruan Zhendong said, that's good. I'll be relieved if you go. After the discussion, Ruan Zhennan and Ruan Zhenshi got in the car and set off with dozens of gunmen. Abada was nervous and excited driving the pickup truck. He was nervous because the car was pulling the expensive jade worth $1 billion. That was $1 billion, which made people tremble just thinking about it. Because of this, they were likely to encounter unexpected situations on the road. He was excited because Qin Haodong had just given him $10,000, which was now in his pocket. With this money, he could immediately marry a beautiful wife and go home. Moreover, Mao Wenlong had already told him that if there was an abnormal situation, he could get out of the car and run for his life. He didn't need to worry about anything else. He also didn't understand why such an important thing wasn't protected by more people and more money. Why did he drive it away alone? What was the difference between giving it to someone else? However, he was just a small driver. He only needed to drive well. These were not things he needed to think about. He originally thought that someone would come to grab the jade soon, but it was already sunset and the surroundings were still quiet. Although a few cars passed by from time to time, no one made a move. After driving for another full hour, the sky was completely dark. There were no street lights on the road at all, and the surroundings looked a little scary in the dark. At that moment, Abada suddenly found a car lying in the middle of the road. There were 4 or 5 people standing in front of the car, each with an AK in their hands. Damn it, they're finally here. As soon as he saw the situation, he was sure that they were here to grab the sky-high jade. Abada slammed on the brake, opened the door, got out, and ran away. Soon, he disappeared into the night. Compared to the jade in the back of the car, he cared more about his life and the $10,000 in his pocket. Anyway, the boss had already told him that he didn't need to be responsible for the rest. The people who were ready to rob the car were stunned. They didn't shoot just now because they were afraid that if the car overturned, it would hurt the sky-high jade in the back. However, they didn't expect that the driver of the other party would run away when he saw them get out of the car, leaving the car and the jade behind. In doubt, several people slowly approached the pickup truck and checked. The jade in the back of the car was still there. "Big brother, what should we do?" asked a man in black with a hoarse voice. "Why do you care so much? Anyway, the treasure is in our hands. Hurry up and drive away." After saying that, another man in black reached for the door of the driver's seat. However, before he could get in the car, there was a sudden gunshot. There was a black hole in the head of the man in black, and he fell to the ground on his back. The rest of the men in black grabbed the AKs in their hands and looked around to find the enemy. Suddenly, a deep voice came from the night sky, "The Lutheran Society is here. Those who have nothing to do with this, get out of here." Then, countless car lights turned on everywhere, and off-road vehicles rushed over and surrounded the place. Seeing the situation, the men in black didn't dare to stay any longer. They didn't even care about the bodies of their companions. They immediately ran away and soon disappeared into the night. Ruan Zhennan and Ruan Zhenshi had been following the pickup truck with their men. They didn't find anything unusual along the way. Seeing that the sky-high jade was about to be taken away by the thief, they took action. Ruan Zhenshi kicked away the body on the ground and said, "Second brother, it was too easy." Ruan Zhennan said, "Don't worry about it. Hurry up and ask someone to drive away." Ruan Zhenshi patted the sky-high jade wrapped in canvas on the back of the car and said, "Should we check it?" Ruan Zhennan said, "No need. It's not easy to change such a big thing. Moreover, the White Wolf Gang and the Jade Gang may send people here soon. Let's drive it back to our house first." "You're right. Let's go," Ruan Zhenshi said as he got in the pickup truck and sat in the driver's seat. They hurried to the headquarters of the Lutheran Society. Qin Haodong asked for a few cars from Mao Wenlong. The group of people toured around the city of Peikant. Near evening, they enjoyed a delicious meal here. After dinner, they got in the car and drove in the direction of the city center. Seeing that they were not going back to the hotel, Lin Momo said, "Haodong, where are we going?" Qin Haodong said, "Those poor guys didn't have much money with them this afternoon. It's not fun to rob them. Let's go to the boxing field of the Lutheran Society now. There must be a lot of money there." Lin Momo immediately understood that they were going to the Lutheran Society. She said, "Is it appropriate to take me to that place? Why don't you take us back to the hotel first?" The little fellow hurriedly cried, "No. No. I want to be with Dad." Qin Haodong patted the little fellow's head and said, "It doesn't matter. Our daughter has the Suzaku sacred body. She is destined to be an extraordinary person in the future. It's okay to go to the boxing field and have a look." Soon, they arrived in front of a huge golden building. If it were in Wuxia, it would be a nightclub or entertainment center. But in Myanmar, it was the largest underground boxing field of the Lutheran Society. Here, even drugs were legal, let alone underground boxing. Therefore, every night when night fell, this place would be filled with rich people seeking excitement. Chapter 430. The name of this boxing field was quite imposing. It was called the Peak of Passion. The decoration was extremely luxurious. People who came here to watch the black boxing games were also rich people. The parking lot opposite the boxing field had been full of all kinds of luxury cars. At the entrance of the boxing field, guests of different skin colors and languages were coming in one after another. They were all rich people from all over the world. They came here to pursue excitement. After Qin Haodong and the others entered the door, a young and beautiful waitress immediately greeted them. Unlike other places, the waitress here only wore a revealing bikini, which showed her curvy figure. Every man couldn't help but look at her long white legs and slightly trembling peaks. The bikini waitress said enthusiastically, "Sir, I'm the number 39 waitress of the boxing field. I'll serve you next. Is it your first time to come to our boxing field?" As she spoke, she also threw a coquettish look at Qin Haodong. People who came here to watch the black boxing games were all rich people. The young man in front of her was extraordinary. He must be a rich second generation of a big family. It was a pity that there was a beautiful woman and a little girl next to him. It seemed that they were married. But this did not affect her enthusiasm. As long as she could serve the person in front of her happy, there would be a lot of tips. Qin Haodong nodded secretly. No wonder the business here was so good. The service of the bikini girls was also a major feature. Money and women had always been two sharp weapons that could arouse men's desire. It was enough to make every man unwilling to leave here. He said, "I'm here for the first time. Is there any best place?" The waitress said, "Sir, you're really here at the right time. There is an empty seat in the VIP section, but the minimum bet is $100,000. Do you need it? $100,000. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "That's it. Arrange it for me." "Okay, sir, please come with me." The waitress was secretly happy. She really met a rich guest today. It seemed that she could make a lot of money. After entering the boxing field, there was immediately a hubbub of noise. Cheers, curses, and cheers could be heard incessantly. "It's so lively here." Lin Momo couldn't help but sigh. Although she could only hear the sound now, it was enough to understand how excited those guests were. The waitress took them to the front row of the VIP section, which was different from the hard seats in the back. There was a wide leather sofa with fruit plates and drinks in front. After Qin Haodong and others sat down, the waitress brought up an iPad. She pointed to the odds displayed on the screen and said, "Sir, this is the scene of our boxing field. The player's personal information and odds are on it. You can choose and swipe your card to bet. It's your first time here. If you need, I can introduce the fighters for you. After that, she looked at Qin Haodong expectantly. If the guests bet on the recommended boxer, she would get a lot of commission. Qin Haodong waved his hand, and Saber immediately stuffed a few dollar bills into the waiter's hand. Then he said with a smile, "No, there's an introduction on the screen, and I've always been lucky. I can win no matter who I choose." Qin Haodong swiped the iPad a few times, and finally pointed to a boxer's profile picture and said, "I'll choose him. Give me $1 million. He didn't bet too much. If he bet all his money at once, the boxing field would go bankrupt before the game started. So he only bet 1 million. Even so, the waiter was still shocked. Even though this was a money-squandering establishment, he was definitely a rich customer among rich customers. He was young, rich, extravagant, and most importantly, handsome. He was simply the Prince Charming of her dreams countless times. She looked at Lin Momo with envy, jealousy, and hatred in her eyes again. If only she was sitting next to Lin Momo. Seeing that the waitress didn't respond, Qin Haodong said again, "Miss, can I?" The waitress came to her senses and said quickly, "Yes, sir. I'll help you bet." She took the bank card. But when she saw the fighter she chose, she was surprised and said, "Sir, are you sure you want this guy?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm sure." "What's the problem?" The waiter said, "It's like this, sir. This player named Weak Chicken just came to our boxing field today. He has never participated in a competition before. I don't know his strength at all. It's too risky for you to bet $1 million on him. I suggest you change to another boxer." She was really surprised. She didn't know whether the handsome young man in front of her was rich or stupid. A normal person would not make such a risky choice. As a result, something even more surprising happened. Qin Haodong said again, "Don't worry, I know fortune-telling. This boxer named Weak Chicken is very lucky. He will definitely not lose. You can bet your money on him. Besides, for a boxer who has just participated in the competition, the odds are very high, right?" The waitress said, "Well, the odds are really high. It's 1 to 10. This kind of black boxing was different from ordinary competitions. Every player had to sign a life and death contract before going on stage. 99% of the players who lost were either dead or disabled. People who didn't have real skills didn't dare to go on stage to compete. Because of this, even for new fighters, the casino didn't dare to give too high odds. 110 was almost the highest. Qin Haodong was happy and immediately shouted, "That's him. Hurry up and help me bet." The waitress said, "Sir, don't you want to think about it? If you really lose, the $1 million will be gone." Although the odds of 1 to 10 were really high, in her eyes, it was impossible for Qin Haodong to earn back $10 million. On one side was a rookie with no experience, and on the other side was a powerful veteran fighter. But anyone with a little brain should know how to choose. "That's him. Swipe my card," Qin Haodong said firmly. "Yes, sir." The waitress sighed secretly. Since the guest insisted, she couldn't say anything more. Anyway, she didn't lose money. But in this way, there would be no tip. She took the bank card and skillfully bet $1 million on the player named Weak Chicken. "Sir, the match will start in 10 minutes. Good luck." Qin Haodong nodded, then turned his head to look at the boxing ring in the center of the field. Although it was an underground boxing ring, the scale of the construction was no less than that of a regular boxing ring seen on TV. It could almost accommodate nearly 1,000 spectators. The difference was that there was a huge iron cage on the boxing ring in the center. The steel bars on the iron cage were as thick as a child's arm and looked extremely strong. In an underground boxing match, the iron cage could only be opened after one side of the match fell to the ground and the referee announced the result of the match. This scene undoubtedly stimulated the senses of the guests to the greatest extent. Soon, the match that was going on the boxing ring was over. The defeated player's neck was directly broken by the opponent. The iron cage was opened, and two staff went up and carried the dead body down. In the audience, cheers and curses rang out. The cheers were naturally the gamblers who bet on the winning side, and the curses were the guests who bet on the dead side. This was the rule of the underground boxing match. The winner was king, and the loser was a thief. People always applauded and cheered for the winner, and there would be no sympathy for the dead, only disdain and curses. After a match, the front desk was simply cleaned up, and the next match began immediately. The information of the boxers on both sides of the match was displayed on the big screen. On one side was a boxer with a 90% winning rate, codenamed Crippled Wolf. This guy was about 185 meters tall, with strong muscles all over his body and bloodthirsty eyes. It was said that Crippled Wolf's means were very cruel, and no boxer who was defeated by him survived. Because of this, when his name was displayed, there was a burst of cheers in the venue. Many familiar gamblers bet on him, but it was very rare to see Qin Haodong throw $1 million. Crippled Wolf threw off his cloak very easily, stretched out his hairy big hand, and grabbed the chest of the bikini girl next to him. Then he jumped onto the boxing ring, and very arrogantly gave a middle finger to the boxers under the ring, and then strode into the iron cage. His opponent was the newcomer called Weak Chicken. As soon as he announced his name, there was a burst of laughter in the boxing ring. Generally speaking, even new boxers would give themselves a domineering and loud name, which could enhance their confidence. No one had ever seen anyone give themselves a codename Weak Chicken. The man called Weak Chicken was about 30 years old. He had an ordinary appearance, an ordinary figure, and such a funny codename. There was no doubt that no one would be optimistic about him. The bets were all on Crippled Wolf. Only Qin Haodong alone bet $1 million on Weak Chicken. The big screen above the boxing ring showed the real-time changes of the numbers and odds. When everyone saw the lonely $1 million under Weak Chicken's name, everyone was excited. In their opinion, this person was no different from a fool. There was no difference between a fool and a fool. Putting $1 million on a weak newcomer was simply giving them money. Seeing these bets, Crippled Wolf was very excited. He had participated in many underground boxing matches, and it was rare to see such a rich man who bet $1 million. As long as he won this match today, his prize money would also increase several times. He laughed wildly again and shouted to the audience, "Weak Chicken, hurry up and come up. Let me twist your head off." He did not take this opponent seriously at all, and his eyes were full of contempt. There was no reaction on Weak Chicken's face, as if he did not see Crippled Wolf's provocation. He lowered his eyes and walked step by step towards the ring. He walked very slowly, without any momentum. It was a world of difference from Crippled Wolf's leap just now. This kind of performance made the guests present hiss, and many people looked at Qin Haodong with sarcasm. Qin Haodong seemed to have seen nothing. He was attacking the fruit plate in front of him with the little fellow. Lin Momo, on the other hand, was surprised when she saw Weak Chicken's appearance. "Haodong, why does this person look so much like Brother Fugue?" Qin Haodong said while eating a banana, "It's not like. He is Chen Fugue." "That's right." The player who was walking step by step into the boxing ring, codenamed Weak Chicken, was the captain of Daddy Security Company in the former Soldier King, Chen Fugue. Lin Momo suddenly realized that no wonder Qin Haodong had bet all the dollars on this newcomer. It turned out that he had made sufficient preparations. Chapter 431. Lin Momo asked, "When did you call Brother Fugue over?" Qin Haodong said, "Yesterday." After he said that, he looked at the screaming gamblers around him with a sarcastic expression. These idiots had never seen Qin Haodong fight before. They could judge the outcome from his movements on the stage. It really made people speechless. Lin Momo was very clear about Chen Fugui's skills. At this time, she immediately understood that Qin Haodong had been ready to fight against the Lutheran Society for a long time. Chen Fugui walked to the front stage step by step and stepped into the iron cage. The staff behind him locked the iron gate outside the cage. The cheers and shouts at the scene were even louder. This was the characteristic of the black boxing competition. The competition officially began when one entered the iron cage. It would not end until one side fell to the ground. Crippled Wolf's eyes stared at Chen Fugui like a poisonous snake. He said with a ferocious face, "Weak chicken, right? This name is really creative. It seems that you still know that you're here to deliver food to me." Chen Fugui glanced at Crippled Wolf with a flash of disdain on his face. "Weak chicken is not referring to myself. In my eyes, all of you are weak chickens, especially guys like you who are outwardly strong but inwardly weak. What an arrogant boy. Now I'm going to twist your head off and stuff it into your ass." After Crippled Wolf said that, he suddenly moved. He took 2 steps forward in succession and punched Chen Fugui's face hard. It had to be said that this kid did have some capital to be arrogant. This punch was grand and powerful, and the gamblers who bet on him immediately let out waves of excited howls. It was a pity that he was facing the Soldier King, Chen Fugui. Even without Qin Haodong's help, Crippled Wolf could not be his opponent. Moreover, Chen Fugui had now entered the threshold of the covert power warrior. There was no comparison between the two of them. Chen Fugui completely ignored Crippled Wolf's punch and also punched forward. In everyone's eyes, this guy called Weak Chicken was completely looking for death. However, no one expected that Chen Fugui, who seemed to move slowly, would punch so fast that it actually arrived first. Before Crippled Wolf's fist could touch his fist had already smashed into Crippled Wolf's chest. With a muffled bang, Crippled Wolf was still in the posture of punching, but his whole body seemed to have been hit by a cannonball. He flew backward rapidly in an instant, hit the iron cage with a bang, and then fell to the ground, vomiting mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, the entire audience was silent. No one had expected such a situation to occur. The rookie called Weak Chicken had actually defeated Crippled Wolf, and it was an instant kill. Only Qin Haodong nodded slightly. After a few days, Chen Fugui had reached the 2nd level of covert power. It seemed that those big spirit culturing pills were not eaten in vain. "Get up, hurry up and get up, hurry up and break his neck. I bet 100,000 yuan on you, useless thing, hurry up and attack me." The gamblers who had bet heavily on the Crippled Wolf suddenly had red eyes and kept roaring in their seats. Crippled Wolf struggled to stand up from the ring, but Chen Fugui's punch was too heavy. Not only had his sternum collapsed, but his internal organs had also been shaken out of position. After several consecutive efforts, he fell on the ring with a bang and could no longer get up. After the referee read 10 numbers in a row, seeing that Crippled Wolf still had no reaction, he directly announced that Chen Fugui had won the game. After the result came out, there was a sigh at the scene, followed by a burst of cursing. Everyone who had bet on Crippled Wolf had lost everything. The waitress standing behind Qin Haodong was stunned when she saw the scene in the ring. She had thought that the young man would lose without a doubt. She never expected that he would win. This also meant that the $1 million that had just been bet had become a full $10 million. "Congratulations, sir. Your vision is really unique." The bikini waitress came to Qin Haodong and bowed down, revealing a large view of her chest. "Would you like to exchange the bonus directly or continue to bet?" Qin Haodong asked Saber to give the waitress a few more US dollars, and then said, "I said that this man is lucky. It's impossible for him to lose. Will there be any more games for him?" The waitress said, "If he is willing to accept the challenge, there will be." Qin Haodong said, "Then bet it all on him." The waitress asked in surprise, "You mean, all the $10 million won will be bet on weak chicken?" Qin Haodong said, "That's right. Believe me, he won't let me down. But the opponent and the odds haven't come out yet. It doesn't matter. No matter who the opponent is, no matter what the odds are, you can bet on weak chicken to win." "Okay, I'll bet for you now." After the waitress finished speaking, she skillfully helped Qin Haodong bet all $10 million on Chen Fugui. After placing the bet, she hesitated for a moment and also bet 10,000 yuan of her private money. She chose Chen Fugui. She felt that the young man in front of her was not ordinary. Maybe he was really a feng shui master. It would not be wrong to bet with him. In a luxury private room backstage of the boxing field, a young man in his 30s was sitting on the sofa, sipping red wine while watching the boxing match on the big screen. His name was Ruan Chengfa, a cousin of Ruan Zhendong. He was in charge of the management of the boxing field here. When he saw Chen Fugui send Crippled Wolf flying with one punch, his expression changed slightly. He raised his hand and pressed a red button on the table. Soon, the manager of the boxing field ran in. "What happened just now?" Ruan Chengfa asked. The manager said, "It's like this, young master. A new boxer came to the boxing field. His code name is Weak Chicken, but he just beat Crippled Wolf uncharacteristically. It was a big upset." A smile appeared on the corner of Ruan Chengfa's mouth. "It's good that it's an upset. Our casino will make money if it's an upset." In his opinion, the gamblers in the boxing match just now should have bet on Crippled Wolf. Now that Crippled Wolf had been killed, all the money had become the boxing field's. The manager said, "Young master, it's not like that. There was an accident in this match. Someone bet $1 million on the newcomer. According to the odds of 110, we should pay him $10 million. Those who bet on Crippled Wolf just now were almost $10 million. That is to say, we didn't make any profit in this match. All of it was won by that person. There's such a thing." Ruan Chengfa frowned. "Are they here to mess with us? I'm not sure yet. It might be a coincidence. I just asked our people." She said that the young man claimed to be good at reading faces, so he bet on Weak Chicken. After a pause, the manager said, "Young master, now that Weak Chicken has accepted the challenge of the boxing field, and that young man has bet all $10 million on Weak Chicken, what should we do?" "Another 10 million. Ruan Chengfa's expression became colder and colder. It was obvious that they wanted to use his boxing field as an ATM. He thought for a moment and said, "Jin Gang hasn't played in a game for a long time. Let him play today, get rid of that Weak Chicken, and get back our $10 million. "Okay, young master." The manager said, "What's the odds?" "The odds can't be too low. Otherwise, everyone will be one-sided. What can we earn?" "Let's start with 1.5. Obviously, Ruan Chengfa had confidence in the boxer named Jin Gang to win. "Okay boss, I'll do it now." After the manager finished speaking, he turned around and left the room. Soon, the big screen announced the opponents and odds of the next match. One side was the boxer Jin Gang, who had won 18 consecutive matches in the boxing field. The other side was Weak Chicken, who had just won a match. The odds were 1.5. After the results came out, the audience exclaimed. No one expected that the boxing field would send Jin Gang out in the second match. Although Jin Gang was not the top boxer in the boxing field, he was definitely very strong. After all, 18 consecutive victories was not a joke. For a time, countless gamblers bet on Jin Gang. However, there were also a few people who were conquered by Chen Fugui's punch just now. With the attitude of gambling, they bet on Chen Fugui. The money added up to millions. Some people felt that they could not bet on this match, so they chose to wait and see. However, people soon discovered that a long string of numbers appeared in the betting area for Weak Chicken. It was $10 million. Someone had directly bet $10 million on him. 10 minutes later, the betting ended and the match officially began. Look, Jean Gang is coming out. In the midst of the noise, a black man who was like an iron tower came out. He was 2 meters tall, and his muscles were bulging all over his body. They flashed with a dark luster, as if they were cast from copper and iron. This big man was really as strong as Jean Gang. Every step he took seemed to make the entire boxing field tremble. Chen Fugue, who stood in front of him, immediately became a lot shorter, and his momentum seemed to be a lot weaker. The manager of the boxing field ran to Jean Gang and whispered a few words in his ear. Jean Gang nodded knowingly. Then, his eyes showed a fierce look as he strode toward the boxing ring. At the front desk, Chen Fugue also slowly walked into the boxing ring, but this time, no one dared to look down on him. After both of them entered the cage, the staff locked the iron door again, and the match officially began. Jean Gang's right foot stomped heavily on the boxing ring, and the entire boxing field seemed to tremble. The whole place seemed to tremble. He looked at Chen Fugue with a murderous look. Kid, you're dead. Chen Fugue just gently rolled his eyes at him and said lightly, you guys talk a lot of nonsense. Hurry up and do it. Go to hell. Jean Gang let out an earth-shattering roar, then suddenly smashed his fists toward Chen Fugue's head. Although his body was huge, he was not clumsy, and his speed was also extremely fast. The size of each fist was not much different from Chen Fugue's head. When he punched out with both fists, the momentum was terrifying. Seeing this situation, just when everyone thought that the thin Chen Fugue would temporarily avoid the attack, they saw that he also punched out with both fists without showing any signs of weakness. Moreover, he smashed his fists against Jean Gang's fists. While everyone was shocked, 2 fists, one big and one small, one black and one white, collided in mid-air, making a muffled bang. Then, there was a cracking sound, followed by the ear-piercing sound of bones breaking. Who was the loser? Everyone stared intently at the 2 people in the boxing ring. They saw that Chen Fugue was still as if he had been nailed to the ring board. His body did not move at all. On the other hand, King Kong's huge body was sent flying like a broken sack. Both of its arms were in weird shapes, especially its left arm, where a section of eerie white bone pierced through its skin and protruded from the back. Although Chen Fugue's punch did not kill Jean Gang, it had crippled both of his arms. Everyone could see that Jean Gang had lost the ability to fight again. The festival was a bit messy. My wife and I repeated 3 chapters. The main website of Zongheng has made corrections, but the channel data has not yet come. Please understand. We added 3 chapters to apologize. Chapter 432. Looking at the arrogant King Kong again, it was not as simple as having his arms crippled. His courage was completely shattered by Chen Fugue's punch, and his eyes were full of fear. It was no wonder that only those who had experienced the punch just now knew how terrifying it was. He had been in the underground boxing ring for so many years, but he had never seen such a domineering boxing technique. Chen Fugue stood upright in the ring like a javelin. He was not a cruel and bloodthirsty person. Since King Kong had become so cowardly, he did not continue to chase after him. The referee saw that King Kong's hands were crippled. Although he was very surprised, he still fulfilled his duty. After asking King Kong's opinion, he announced that Chen Fugue had won the second game. Another punch sealed the victory. Chen Fugue only used 2 punches, but he won 2 games in a row. The people present were completely dumbfounded. It was reasonable for Chen Fugue to blow up the crippled wolf with 1 punch. Although the crippled wolf had some strength, he was not the top boxer in the boxing ring. However, King Kong was different. He was an amazing man with 18 consecutive wins, but he was also blown up by 1 punch. If it were not for King Kong's bloody arms in front of them, people would have suspected that it was a fake fight. After a short silence, the boxing ring quickly boiled up. Whether it was the winning gamblers or the losing gamblers, they all vented the emotions in their hearts. Was he still weak chicken? He was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Strong. He was really too strong. In the backstage of the boxing ring, after seeing Chen Fugue defeat King Kong with one punch, Wan Chengfa smashed the wine glass in his hand to the ground. It was not an ordinary punch, but a punch that took away countless of his wealth. Qin Haodong alone bet $10 million on this boxer called Weak Chicken. According to the odds of 1 to 5, he would lose $50 million. With a livid face, he asked the manager who had just run over, "How much did we lose in this game?" The manager wiped the sweat on his forehead and said, "The bet on Weak Chicken's victory is about $13 million. We have to lose more than $60 million, and the deposit for winning is more than $10 million. That is to say, we have lost $50 million in this game." Bastard! Wan Chengfa kicked over the coffee table in front of him. More than $50 million was more than 300 million yuan. How could he explain it to Wan Zhendong? If the news really got out, he might not be able to keep his position as the person in charge. The manager trembled and asked, "Young master, what should we do next?" "Do you even need to ask?" "Of course, we have to get that $50 million back." Wan Chengfa took a deep breath, calmed his emotions, and said, "No matter what, let that weakling continue to accept the challenge, and then let Black Panther come out." Every family that opened an underground boxing arena would be on guard against being challenged by others. They would always prepare one or two of their strongest boxers to keep watch. Players of this level rarely appeared on normal days. They were the stabilizing force of the boxing arena and were at the peak of their passion. The boxing arena had been challenged by others several times before, but in the end, Black Panther appeared and turned the tide. The manager hesitated for a moment and finally said with difficulty, "Young master, let's just forget about it. I don't think Heibao is a match for this person. He had been in the boxing ring for so many years. Although he was not a martial artist, he could still see the comparison. Black Panther was indeed very strong, but he could not beat King Kong with one punch. In contrast, this man called Weak Chicken should be stronger. Forget it. Do you have King brain? We were kicked to the ground like this, and more than $50 million was taken away. How can our boxing arena survive in the Golden Triangle in the future?" Wan Chengfa was so angry that he slapped the manager in the face. After the first game, it was fine if they stopped. The boxing arena could bear the loss of $10 million. But if they stopped now, then he would lose his job as the person in charge of the boxing arena. I know I was wrong, young master," the manager covered his swollen face and said. He had just expressed his opinion. In his opinion, Black Panther was indeed no match for Chen Fugue. Wan Chengfa said angrily, "Hurry up and do it." "Go." "I'll go right away." The manager asked, "Young master, what are the odds for this game?" Wan Chengfa thought for a moment and said, 1 to 2. "I see, young master." The manager did not dare to stay there any longer. He turned around and ran out. Wan Chengfa turned around and looked at the repeated footage of Chen Fugue's fight on the big screen. He also felt that Black Panther was not sure of winning this time. After hesitating for a moment, he took out his mobile phone and dialed Wan Zhendong's number. At this time, Wan Zhendong was sitting on the sofa excitedly. He had just received a call from Wan Zhennan, saying that he had grabbed the sky-high jade and was on his way back. Although he had lost some strength in the afternoon, being able to get the sky-high jade worth $1 billion could be regarded as compensation for the loss. This news made Wan Zhendong very happy. At this moment, his mobile phone rang again. It was Wan Chengfa. He picked up his mobile phone and asked, "Chengfa, what's the matter?" Yuan Qingfa reined in his earlier rage and said respectfully, "It's like this, President. Someone came to our boxing arena to challenge us and has already won 2 matches consecutively. The opponent is very strong. I'm thinking, should we let Mr. Anthony make a move?" Yuan Zhendong was shocked and asked, "Don't you have Black Panther there? Is he not a match for him?" Yuan Qingfa said, "I arranged for Black Panther to fight in the 3rd game, but I feel that Black Panther is not as strong as that person, so I want to ask Mr. Anthony to fight, just in case." "Who is the opponent? Where did he come from? How can he have such strong strength?" Yuan Zhendong was very shocked. Although there had often been challenges in the past, this had never happened. Yuan Qingfa said, "It's a newcomer from Wuxia. I don't know the specific situation yet." Yuan Zhendong suddenly had a bad feeling when he heard that it was a Wuxia person. He said, "Let Black Panther hold on for a while. I'll let Mr. Anthony go there right away." After hanging up the phone, he waved to a bodyguard and said, "Go and inform Mr. Anthony immediately and ask him to go to the boxing arena." The bodyguard agreed and turned to leave the room. Yuan Zhendong felt a little more at ease with Anthony's appearance. Anthony was an expert he had hired with a lot of money. He came from the world-famous Siberian training camp and was now the instructor of the Bloody Clothes team. The people who came out of the Siberian training camp were not only strong, but also killing machines. If Black Panther was the trump card of the hot-blooded pinnacle boxing field, then Anthony was the last trump card of all the boxing fields of the Lutheran Society. It was just that he had never fought for many years. In the boxing arena, when Chen Fugui once again accepted the challenge of the boxing arena, the enthusiasm of the guests was immediately ignited. The winner was king. This sentence could not be more appropriate in the black boxing arena. At this time, people had already recognized the strong man in front of them and kept cheering and shouting for him. Soon, the arena showed the 2 sides and the odds for the next game. The veteran gamblers discovered that the boxing field had actually sent out Black Leopard, which made them extremely shocked. It should be known that Black Leopard was the strongest in the boxing field. His legs, which seemed to be made of steel, had kicked and exploded the heads of countless opponents. However, it was also because of this that they saw Chen Fugui's strength. Not only had he locked in 2 consecutive victories with 1 punch, but he had also forced out the trump card of the boxing arena. Because of this, when the gamblers bet, there was no one-sided situation as before. Although many people still supported Black Panther, many people also bet on Chen Fugui. According to the real-time betting displayed on the big screen, there was not much difference between the people who were optimistic about Black Panther and the people who were optimistic about Chen Fugui. It was double the previous game. At that moment, the screen suddenly flashed and a long string of numbers appeared. It was $50 million, all of which was bet on Chen Fugui. The one who bet was naturally Qin Haodong. He had just won $50 million in the game. He did not take back a single cent and once again bet all of it. The eyes of the young waiter next to him also flashed with excitement. The $10,000 he had just bet had brought him 5 times the profit. Now, it was already $50,000. The odds for this game were 1 to 2. If she could win again, it would be $100,000. She could leave the boxing arena and not work there anymore. Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth and bet all of her $50,000 again. Under the attention of the crowd, Chen Fugui and Black Panther walked to the front stage together. Black Panther's skin was indeed a little dark, but he was not a purebred black man. He was Southeast Asian. He did not look tall, and he was even a little shorter than Chen Fugui. He was the strongest boxer in the arena. Since his debut, he had fought more than 100 games and had never been defeated. Later, he was directly recruited by Yuan Zhendong. Compared to his martial arts cultivation, he left a deeper impression on people because of his killing skills, especially his 2 legs. The speed of his legs on the boxing stage was so fast that it made people feel hopeless. It was known as the steel leg sweep. After going on stage, he glanced at Chinfugui opposite him. His eyes were burning with fighting spirit. Since the boxing arena had let him fight, the other party was definitely an opponent worth fighting. As an excellent black boxer, he had never thought about failure because confidence and momentum were the prerequisites for every black boxer to go on. If his confidence collapsed, then he would not be far from death. Compared to the amazing Black Panther, Chinfugui did not change at all. He stood there with a straight posture, like a javelin. Although the opponent in front of him was a little stronger than the previous two, he still did not take him seriously. The two men looked at each other quietly on the boxing stage. No one spoke, and no one made the first move. Black Panther kept increasing his momentum, trying to force his opponent to show flaws. However, Chinfugui stood there motionless, as if his opponent did not exist at all. 5 minutes later, the gamblers in the stands could not hold it in any longer. Shouts and curses rang out. Black Panther's eyes flashed. He had also lost his patience. Suddenly, his body moved. He was as fast as an agile Black Panther, pouncing on his prey. Black Panther did not dare to underestimate the opponent in front of him. He used his ultimate skill, the steel leg sweep. After he leaped into the air, his strongest right leg turned into a sky full of leg shadows, completely covering Chinfugui. Facing the amazing Black Panther, everyone's eyes were focused on Chinfugui. They wanted to know how the man who claimed that everyone was weak would deal with it. Would he dodge or fight head-on? At that moment, Chinfugui moved. Like Black Panther, he also kicked out. Compared to the majestic momentum of the Black Panther's kick, his kick looked simple and unadorned. It simply met the Black Panther's kick head-on, and it was this kick that broke the sky full of leg shadows. Chapter 433. A fierce look flashed in Black Panther's eyes. His strongest skill was his leg technique. He could easily break a stone pillar with a kick. The man in front of him wanted to fight him with his leg. Wasn't he courting death? He was determined in his heart. His legs suddenly sped up a little, and the two legs collided with a bang. Strong against strong, leg against leg. Then there was a cracking sound. The two men stopped all their movements and stood on the stage like statues. Broken leg. Broken leg. I heard the sound of bones breaking. Whose leg is broken? Weak Chicken or Black Panther? Of course it's Weak Chicken. I've seen Black Panther's leg technique. He can even break a stone pillar with one kick. Are you blind? Don't you see that Black Panther's leg is broken? Amidst the boiling noise, people were surprised to find that Black Panther's calf had been kicked into a V-shape by Chinfugui. The steel sweep leg, which had kicked countless opponents' heads, was actually broken. Black Panther, who had never been defeated since his debut, was actually defeated. And it was still one move, defeating him from his strongest point. Feeling the sharp pain coming from his leg, Black Panther couldn't believe that all this was true. His strongest steel sweep leg couldn't beat the Wuxia man in front of him. How was that possible? Chinfugui slowly retracted his right leg. His current cultivation had reached the second level of covert power. His calf, which was full of genuine chi, could even break a steel pillar, let alone a stone pillar. Not to mention one of Black Panther's legs. I'll fight you. After his failure, Black Panther had lost his mind. He put one hand on the ground and kicked his remaining left leg at Chinfugui. As a proud boxer, he couldn't say the word admit defeat. Moreover, he knew what kind of mission he was shouldering today. If he admitted defeat on the stage, he was afraid that he wouldn't live long after he went down. He would soon be shot to death. Facing Black Panther's dying blow, Chinfugui's eyes flashed with contempt again. He raised his hand and punched out. Generally speaking, a fist was not as powerful as a leg, but the cultivation gap between the two men was too big. One was just an underground boxer, and the other was an expert at the second level of covert power. There was really no comparison. Soon, there was another crack over the boxing field. Black Panther's left leg was broken by Chen Fugui's punch. After losing his legs, Black Panther could no longer stand. He fell on the ring with a loud crash. He struggled several times but failed to get up. At the end of the game, Chen Fugui won again. There was another burst of cheers at the scene. The gamblers who bet on Chen Fugui celebrated their victories one after another. The waitress in a bikini almost jumped up with joy. 2 consecutive victories had brought her $100,000 in income. She turned to look at Qin. And it was because she had followed him to bet that her life changed. "Sir," she said. She said to Qin Haodong respectfully. Qin Haodong smiled. "It's up to you to decide who to bet on. You don't have to thank me." The waiter said, "Sir, you've won the game again. Would you like to win the prize money or continue to bet?" Thinking that the man in front of her had already won $100 million, she felt an inexplicable tremble in her heart. "I'll continue to bet. As usual, bet on weak chicken to win." Qin Haodong glanced at the eager waiter and said, "There aren't many chances. If you want to bet, hurry up. There won't be another chance." "Sir, do you think weak chicken will win this game?" The waiter was a little hesitant. She wanted to bet all $100,000, but she was a little uncertain. She wanted to quit while she was ahead. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Trust me. I bet $100 million. What are you afraid of?" The waiter thought about it. Qin Haodong didn't hesitate to bet $100 million, which showed that he had enough confidence in weak chicken. Coupled with the previous 3 victories, she had been completely convinced by Qin Haodong's vision and decided to gamble again. "Thank you, sir." After the waiter said that, she also bet all $100,000 in her hand. On the boxing field, Black Panther, whose legs were broken, had been dragged off. Although the referee was extremely reluctant, he finally announced that Chen Fugui had won the game. Chen Fugui glanced at him and said, "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge?" At this point, the referee couldn't make the decision at all. He turned his head to look at the manager of the boxing field. The manager was also anxious with a cold sweat on his face. Even Black Panther, the strongest in the field, had his legs broken. Who dared to challenge this terrible Wuxia man? At this moment, a cold voice came from the door of the boxing field, "Wuxia man, I'm here to challenge you." Everyone looked at the source of the voice and saw a 2-meter-tall white man appear at the door of the boxing field. This guy weighed more than 100 kilograms and looked much stronger than King Kong. He was like a big white bear walking. Every step he took caused the boxing field to tremble. The man had a yellow mohawk on top of his head. He looked like a hippie gangster in a Western movie. However, the expression on his face was extremely serious at this time, and his whole body exuded a strong murderous aura. He was the chief instructor of the Bloody Clothes team, Anthony from the Siberian training camp, nicknamed Big White Bear. Seeing Anthony appear, Qin Haodong's face changed a little. This guy didn't have any internal cultivation method. He only relied on crazy training to stimulate his personal potential to raise his cultivation to the peak of the 9th level of overt power, which was very rare. If he wasn't worried, there was an essential difference between overt power and covert power. After all, Chen Fugui was still a few levels higher than this guy. And as a former soldier king, Chen Fugui would not lose to the big white bear in front of him in terms of killing skills and fighting skills. In the backstage of the boxing field, Wan Chengfa breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Anthony appear on the big screen. Otherwise, he really didn't know how to end today. Qin Haodong had just bet $50 million in this game. Although he had adjusted the odds to 1-2, he still had to pay a bet of $100 million in the end. Although the boxing field made a lot of money before and could take out so much money, he was afraid that Wang Zhendong would immediately break his bones. Now, he had seen Anthony fight. His skills were terrifying. He was simply a killing machine. Therefore, in his opinion, no matter how powerful the Wuxia man was, he could not be Anthony's opponent. Anthony walked to the front stage step by step. He looked at Chen Fugue with sharp eyes and said, "I want to challenge you." Chen Fugue said indifferently, "Okay, as long as you're not afraid of death." Seeing that Chen Fugue had accepted the challenge, the boxing field manager breathed a sigh of relief. The big screen immediately showed the two sides and the latest odds. According to Wan Qingfa's arrangement, Chen Fugue's odds were adjusted to 1-1-5, while Anthony's odds fell to 1-2. This didn't mean that Wan Qingfa had no confidence in Anthony. After operating the casino for so many years, he was very clear about the hearts of these gamblers. At this moment, the lower the odds were, the more these people would bet on Chen Fugue. When Anthony defeated the Wuxia man called Weak Chicken, not only could he get back all the money he had just lost, but he could also make a lot of money. As he had expected, these gamblers had already seen Chen Fugue's terrifying skills. He had won 3 consecutive matches easily, and he had only used one move in each match. Although Anthony also seemed to be full of momentum, they still bet all their chips on Chen Fugue. Wan Qingfa looked at the rapidly rising betting data on the electronic screen. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. At the same time, he stared at Qin Haodong, who was sitting in the VIP seat, hoping that he would bet all his money again. What he was most afraid of now was that the Wuxia man would stop. If that was really the case, the boxing field would be hurt to pay $100 million. Not paying would greatly affect the reputation of the casino. As he wished, Qin Haodong once again bet all the $100 million he had won on Chen Fugue. It wasn't until this moment that Wan Qingfa was relieved. He sneered at the figure on the big screen and said, "Boy, spit out what you ate." 10 minutes later, the betting time was over and the boxing match began again. On the boxing stage, Chen Fugue glanced at Anthony and said, "You're finally a little better than those trash. Make your move." Anthony said with a murderous look, "You make your move first. If I make my move first, you're dead. You're overestimating yourself." Chen Fugue shook his head and no longer talked nonsense with Anthony. He punched him in the chest. Anthony's pupils shrank as he reached out to grab Chen Fugue's fist. This was a trick he often used. He first broke the opponent's arm and then used his knee to smash the opponent's head into a rotten watermelon. Chen Fugue's fist was not too fast, and it didn't seem to be very powerful. It was easily caught by Anthony. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. He wanted to break Chen Fugue's arm, but he was surprised to find that his hand couldn't catch Chen Fugue's fist. Not only could he not catch it, but he couldn't even block it for a moment. This seemingly ordinary fist contained an astonishing amount of power. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through his hands and fiercely smashed into his chest. With a muffled bang, Anthony's body, which weighed more than 100 kilograms, was sent flying in the air and slammed into the iron cage behind him. Seeing that Chen Fugue had sent Anthony flying with one punch, the audience immediately boiled over. Those gamblers who had bet heavily on Chen Fugue howled wildly, "Good job, weak chicken. You're good, kill him, kick his head, crush his balls, egg." Those gamblers who had bet on Anthony were regretting it so much that their intestines turned green. Dirty words kept spewing out of their mouths, "Trash. You're so King tall, but you can't even block one punch." In the backstage of the boxing field, Wan Qingfa had been looking at the big screen proudly. Now, the smile on his face froze instantly. He stood there like a stone statue. How was that possible? Wasn't Anthony a killing machine? How could he be sent flying with one punch? Just when everyone thought that Chen Fugue had sealed the victory with one move again, Anthony got up from the ground. No matter what, he was also a warrior at the peak of the 9th level of overt power, and he had rich fighting experience. Although he had suffered some internal injuries just now, it hadn't reached the point of hurting his muscles and bones. He looked at the Wuxia man in front of him, who was several sizes smaller than him. His eyes were unprecedentedly dignified. He had never encountered such a powerful expert before, who was even stronger than the instructor in the Siberian training camp. Chen Fugue looked at Anthony, who had gotten up again, and said faintly, "You're indeed stronger than those people, but you're still a weak chicken." After saying that, he punched Anthony again. After experiencing the strength of his opponent, Anthony didn't dare to take it head-on this time. He slid his feet and flashed about a meter to the side. He was ready to dodge the punch first and then look for an opportunity to fight back. Chapter 434. But soon, he was horrified to find that he couldn't avoid Chen Fugue's punch. It was chasing him like a shadow. Even though he had received years of cruel training and had rich practical experience, he had never seen such a strange boxing technique. Seeing that there was no way to hide, Anthony could only exert all his strength and punch out. The two fists, one big and one small, collided with each other. It was the big fist that was at a disadvantage. Although Anthony's phalanges were not broken like King Kong's, he was still shaken and took 7 or 8 steps back. Chen Fugue didn't give him any chance. He chased after him like a shadow and then slapped him in the chest. Anthony's huge body was sent flying again. He began to spit out mouthfuls of blood in midair. This palm strike was much heavier than the previous one. Not only had his sternum caved in, but his internal organs were also injured. He hit the iron cage heavily and then fell to the ring with a plop. He was completely unconscious. The whole audience was shocked. This Wuxia man named Weak Chicken was too powerful. Even in the face of the fierce Anthony, it only took him 2 moves to end the battle. Then, a burst of cheers sounded in the boxing field. It was earth-shattering and deafening. Chen Fugue's victory meant that they had also won the bet. A lot of money would flow into their pockets. Seeing this scene, Yuan Chengfa fell to the ground with a plop. His face was extremely pale. Not only had Qin Haodong bet $100 million on this match, but other customers had also increased their bets. It added up to almost $100 million. Although he had lowered the odds, he still had to pay an astronomical figure. At this moment, the boxing arena manager ran in a panic. He was very clear about how much money he had lost. He asked nervously, "Young master, what should we do now? Do we still want to continue the challenge?" "Challenge my ass. Who's going to challenge? You or me?" Yuan Chengfa vented all his anger on the manager. Even Anthony had been defeated. Who else could he send to challenge? The manager said in a trembling voice, "But if we don't challenge, then we have to honor the bet now. Will you give it or not?" Yuan Chengfa gritted his teeth. This was the most important question. He asked, "Have you calculated it? How much did you lose?" "It's about $200 million in total. That Wuxia man alone took $150 million. That bastard, I won't forgive him." At this time, Yuan Chengfa hated Qin Haodong so much that he gnashed his teeth. $200 million was more than $1 billion yuan, but it was gone just like that. "Young master, are we going to give it or not?" "Here." Of course he had to give it to her. "If you lose, you have to honor the bet." Yuan Chengfa squeezed out these words through his teeth. If the casino reneged on its debt today, there would be no other choice but to close down. Yuan Zhendong would probably skin him alive. "Young master, we can barely scrape together the money, but are we really going to compensate them? This is $200 million. Speaking of this number, the manager could not help but feel his heart ache. "What if you don't give it to me? Unless our ring wants to close. What's more, this is the boxing field of the Lutheran Society. If we go back on our word, the boxing fields and casinos in other places will be affected. The boss will definitely kill us. Although he was angry, Yuan Chengfa's mind was still clear, and he could consider the problem from the big picture. The manager said with a bitter face, "But if we lose so much money, the boss won't forgive us." Yuan Chengfa said, "It's okay to lose the $50 million from the individual customers. These people give us a lot of money every day, and the boxing field will rely on them in the future. But we can't just let go of that gigolo's money like this. We have to get it back." The manager seemed to understand what Yuan Chengfa meant, and asked, "Young master, what do you want to do?" Yuan Chengfa gnashed his teeth and said, "You go to the front and cash in all the gambling money first. I'll immediately gather people here. If he dares to make trouble in the casino of the Lutheran Society, I will not only make him spit out all the money, but I will also skin him alive." "I understand, young master." The manager answered and hurried to the front desk. Chen Fugue won the fourth game, and the casino no longer challenged him, so he walked out of the ring. Next, the boxing field announced that the game for the day was over, and the next step was to cash in for everyone. Chen Fugue won 4 games in a row, and the casino's commission was almost $5 million. After getting the money, he quickly disappeared into the crowd. The bikini waitress first helped Qin Haodong deposit the $200 million bet into the bank card, and then received her own $150,000. With so much money all at once, it was enough for her to live a comfortable life in Burma. She decided that she would never work in the casino again. "Thank you, sir." She suddenly kissed Qin Haodong on the cheek, and then turned around and ran out. She admired and was grateful to the young man who brought her good luck. If Lin Momo and the little fellow were not next to her, she would really want to marry him. When it was over, Qin Haodong and the others left the casino. After getting in the car, his cell phone rang. It was Mao Wenlong. He picked up the phone and listened for a few seconds. Then, he hung up the phone and sneered. Lin Momo asked curiously, "What's wrong, Haodong?" Qin Haodong said, "Nothing. As we guessed, the Lutheran Society took action and took away that expensive jade." Lin Momo said, "Isn't it just a broken stone?" "Let them take it," Lin Momo said. Qin Haodong smirked and said, "Who said that? My car was loaded with real expensive jade. Everyone saw it when I loaded the car. Now that it was taken away by the Lutheran Society, they must give me an explanation." Lin Momo smiled. It turned out that Qin Haodong had been digging a hole for the Lutheran Society from beginning to end. It was not enough for him to beat the boxing field. He wanted to extort money from the Lutheran Society. As the two of them were talking, an ear-piercing screech of brakes suddenly came from the front. A few SUVs blocked their way, and then a few more cars rushed over from behind, surrounding their car. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It seems that we have to solve the trouble here before we extort money from the Lutheran Society." He opened the door and got out of the car. Several people from the Divine Mercenaries protected them in the middle. 20 or 30 gunmen in black jumped out of the SUVs one after another. Each of them had a shiny black Alaska in their hands. The leader was Yuan Chengfa, the head of the boxing field. Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward and said to Yuan Chengfa with a smile, "That's fast. It's a little earlier than I expected." Yuan Chengfa said, "Boy, you're with that weak chicken, aren't you? Are you here to mess with us today?" Qin Haodong said, "You're right. We are indeed on the same side, but we're not here to mess with you. We're just here to take some money." Yuan Chengfa said coldly, "Who the hell are you? How dare you make trouble for the Lutheran Society?" Qin Haodong said, "It's not that I want to make trouble for the Lutheran Society. It's that Yuan Zhenbei of the Lutheran Society came to me at noon and wanted to rob me. So I robbed him. Unfortunately, he was poor and didn't get much money. He only had a few $1,000s with him. So I'm here tonight to make up for the loss." Wan Qingfa's expression changed and he shouted, "Boy, how dare you talk nonsense when you're about to die?" He didn't believe what Qin Haodong said at all. Wan Zhenbei was the vice president of the Lutheran Society. He was the only one who robbed others. How could he be robbed? Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I'm telling the truth. It's up to you whether you believe me or not." "I don't believe you." Wan Qingfa shouted, "Cut the crap. Give us back the 150 million you took from our boxing field. Besides, you've made our casino lose a lot of money today. Give us another 100 million as compensation and I'll spare your life today." Qin Haodong said, "I won the money fair and square from your boxing field. If I lose, I'll take it back. Is this how the Lutheran Society runs a boxing field?" Wan Qingfa thought he had completely controlled the situation. He shouted arrogantly, "Boy, you only have two choices now. One is to pay the money, and the other is to die. Which one do you choose?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "You know what? Are you looking for death? Looking for death? What a joke. How dare you be so stubborn when you're about to die? Believe it or not, I'll blow your head off right now." Wan Qingfa raised the gun in his hand and pointed it at Qin Haodong. However, as soon as he raised the gun, his hand suddenly became light. The gun was already in Qin Haodong's hand. Qin Haodong held the gun in his hand and casually turned it around. Then the gun turned into parts and scattered on the ground. He looked at Wan Qingfa playfully and said, "I'm telling you, this thing is useless to me." Wan Qingfa was shocked. He didn't expect Qin Haodong to be so good at martial arts. He took a few steps back and kept a safe distance from Qin Haodong. He shouted, "Boy, don't think that you're great just because you have some martial arts. No matter how good you are, can you be better than a gun?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Indeed, I'm not better than a gun. But as long as one of your men can lift a gun today, I'll lose." Wan Qingfa's expression changed. He pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted to his gunmen, "Shoot! Break his legs!" Because he hadn't gotten his money back yet, he didn't ask his men to kill Qin Haodong. He just wanted to reduce Qin Haodong's prestige first. After receiving the order, a gunman standing behind him immediately raised his gun and was about to shoot at Qin Haodong. However, as soon as he moved the muzzle, he heard a gunshot. A bloody hole appeared between the gunman's eyebrows and he fell to the ground on his back. "What's going on? Who fired the gun?" Wan Qingfa was shocked. He quickly looked around and saw dozens of gunmen in the night. These people were dressed in black and had black hats. The black muzzles were pointing at him and his men. At this time, the two men in black who led the team came to Qin Haodong. "Boss, we're here." They were Zhang Tiniu and Chen Fugue, along with 30 elites from Daddy Security Company. Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Not bad. You came just in time." Seeing that he was surrounded by others, Wan Qingfa was shocked. At this time, he also recognized Chen Fugue and said in a panic, Is this a trap you set for us?" Qin Haodong said, "You think too much. Originally, I just wanted to make some money in the boxing arena. If you abide by the rules and are willing to accept the loss, it would be fine. However, you just want to use this kind of dirty means, so I have no choice but to play with you. I'm from the Lutheran Society. You can't afford to offend." Wan Qingfa originally wanted to show off the power of the Lutheran Society, but before he finished speaking, Qin Haodong had already slapped him to the ground. "Are you King stupid? Are you forcing me? Can't you see that I'm looking for the Lutheran Society today?" Chapter 435. Wan Qingfa rolled on the ground because of the slap, but his gunmen did not dare to move. Qin Haodong glanced around. He had two main purposes for doing this today. First, he wanted to establish his power in Myanmar. Second, he wanted to weaken the Lutheran Society. Naturally, he would not let these people go easily. He said to the gunmen of the Lutheran Society, "You have two choices today. Either drop your guns and break your hands, or die." For a gunman, if his hands were broken, he would never be able to make a living in the future. As soon as Qin Haodong finished speaking, several people immediately raised their guns to make a last-ditch struggle. However, as soon as they moved, a bloody hole appeared in their foreheads, and they fell to the ground with a thud. Although the number of these people was not much different from the elites of Daddy Security Company, their quality was much better. They did not even have a chance to raise their guns. After 4 or 5 gunmen died in succession, the others suddenly lost the courage to resist and dropped their guns. Obviously, their lives were more important than their hands. Chen Fugue and Zhang Tiniu immediately went forward to collect these people's guns and then broke their hands. Ruan Qingfa was so scared that he wet his pants. He did not know what the young man would do to him next. Qin Haodong looked at him and said, "Tie him up and take him to the Lutheran Society." After that, he turned around and got in the car. Zhang Tiniu took out a rope and tied Ruan Qingfa up like a dumpling. Then he threw him into the trunk and followed Qin Haodong's car to the front. The headquarters of the Lutheran Society was located in the suburbs of Peking. It was a huge manor with countless gunmen guarding in front of the gate. At this time, in the Lutheran Society, the Ruan brothers were looking at the pickup truck in front of them excitedly. "Second brother, third brother, thank you for your hard work," Ruan Zhendong said and waved his hand. "Take off the canvas. I want to see what the jade worth $1 billion looks like." After listening to him, everyone's eyes were focused on the huge jade behind the pickup truck. Although these people lived in Myanmar, they had never seen such a big jade. 2 minions went forward and pulled off the canvas quickly. Suddenly, a huge stone was revealed. Everyone exclaimed. Ruan Zhendong stepped forward and looked at it. He turned back and said to Ruan Zhennan, "Second brother, are you sure this is jade?" In the trunk of the car, there was no jade worth $1 billion. It was a huge piece of granite covered with mud and green moss. Ruan Zhennan's face was extremely gloomy. He said in a cold voice, "Damn, we were fooled by that Wuxia man." Ruan Zhenshi also felt that he had lost face. He shouted angrily, "Brother, I'm going to kill that guy right now. How dare he make fun of the Lutheran Society?" Ruan Zhendong's face darkened even more. So many people had gone there, but they had only gotten back a worthless stone. If the news got out, the Lutheran Society would lose face. Just as he was hesitating whether he should agree to Ruan Zhenshi's request, there was a sudden commotion outside the door, followed by a group of people walking in. They were led by a handsome man and a woman, who were holding a very cute little girl in their arms. The family of 3 had faint smiles on their faces. They looked relaxed. It was like they were walking in a park when they entered the headquarters of the Lutheran Society. Behind them were 30 armed gunmen in black. Their gazes were sharp and murderous, and they looked around vigilantly like leopards. "Who are you? How did you get in?" Ruan Zhendong's expression changed greatly. This was the headquarters of the Lutheran Society. It was heavily guarded. He really didn't understand how these people got in. At that moment, one of his men behind him was ready to pull out his gun and shoot Qin Haodong. However, as soon as his right hand touched the handle of the gun, there was a bloody hole in his forehead. He fell on his back. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "President Ruan, did you see that? That's how we got in." Although they had met countless gunmen along the way, they didn't even have a chance to pull out their guns in front of the elites of Daddy Security Company. There was a huge gap between the two sides. Many people of the Lutheran Society rushed out when they heard the noise. However, after 7 or 8 of them were killed, no one dared to pull out their guns anymore. Even the well-hidden sentries were killed by the people of Daddy Security Company. Suppression. Complete suppression. Although Qin Haodong and his men didn't have the upper hand in terms of numbers, they were suppressing the entire Lutheran society. No one dared to move. The faces of the Ruan brothers all changed. It was the first time since the Lutheran society had been established that they had been attacked and suppressed by someone else. The Lutheran society was the most powerful of the three gangs in Myanmar. Not only had they been attacked, they didn't even dare to fart. Qin Haodong walked to Ruan Zhendong and the others. He said with a smile, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Qin Haodong. I'm a doctor from Wuxia." Ruan Zhendong said with a livid face, "What do you mean by attacking the Lutheran society?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm here to get even with the Lutheran society." He waved his hand behind him. Chen Fugue threw Wan Qingfa, who was tied up like a rice dumpling. "President, help me." Wan Qingfa immediately shouted when he saw Ruan Zhendong. Ruan Zhendong was stunned at first, then he glared at him. He thought to himself that Qin Haodong was so stupid that he couldn't even protect himself. How could he save him? He looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Mr. Qin, why did you arrest my man?" Qin Haodong said, "I was in a good mood today. I went to your boxing field to watch a few matches and gambled a few times. I didn't win much money, only $150 million. It's a small amount of money. But I didn't expect that the Lutheran society couldn't afford to lose. This guy brought people to rob me. What do you think I should do?" The muscles on Ruan Zhendong's face twitched. $150 million. That's 1 billion yuan. How could it be a small amount of money to Qin Haodong? Before he could speak, Qin Haodong said, "Of course, it's just a small matter. The most important thing is that the Lutheran society robbed me. I just got a treasure at the raw gemstone exhibition today. It's a priceless jade worth $1 billion. I didn't expect that it would be stolen by the Lutheran society. Of course, I have to get even with you. As the largest gang in Myanmar, they had been chased to their door. They used to do that to others, but now they were the ones who did it. It was absolutely a great shame." Ruan Zhenshi couldn't help but say angrily, "Qin, what do you want?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Nothing. You stole my stuff, so you have to give it back to me. Besides, the Lutheran society has been making trouble for me again and again. You should at least give me some compensation for mental damage. I don't want much. 1 billion yuan. Speaking of this, his expression suddenly became cold. "I'll leave immediately after I give you the money and the jade. Otherwise, I'll destroy the Lutheran society today." Ruan Zhenshi was about to get angry, but he was stopped by Ruan Zhennan. Now that they were being pointed at by a gun, they would only be at a disadvantage if they tried to be tough. He had already seen the situation in front of him clearly. Every member of the Lutheran society had been killed with one shot. It was not just a matter of good marksmanship. It also showed that Qin Haodong and his men had an orderly division of labor and strong combat power. Even regular soldiers couldn't do that, let alone the motley crew. He said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, what happened to Ruan Qingfa was indeed our fault. I apologize to you here. But you also saw the priceless jade. It's still in the car. It's just an ordinary stone. Do you think we can let it go?" After he said that, the members of the Lutheran society were all shocked. It was the first time that the second-in-command publicly apologized to someone. Their faces were full of humiliation and unwillingness, but they could do nothing about it. Qin Haodong didn't care. He came to the Lutheran society that day to show his power. An apology was far from enough. He pointed to the pickup truck parked next to him and said, "That priceless jade was in this truck. Many people saw it. Now the truck is with you, but you threw a broken stone in the truck and said that the jade turned into a stone. Do you think I can believe that?" Ruan Zhendong's face darkened. Damn it. It was obviously blackmail. The Lutheran Society had done this kind of thing many times in the past, but he had never thought that it would be used on him today. Wang Jinnan's face was livid. No wonder Qin Haodong had only sent a driver to drive the stone around without any defense. It turned out that Qin Haodong had already dug a trap for him. They were waiting for him to take it away and then blackmail him. But there was nothing he could say now. The truck was right there. The Lutheran Society had indeed taken it back. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. However, it wasn't $1 billion that they had taken back, but a big trouble. When Wang Zhendong and Wang Zhennan were trying to think of a suitable solution, Wang Jinshi burst out. "Damn it, Gigolo! What do you think the Lutheran Society is? How dare you blackmail me? I'm telling you, it's not too late to get out of here. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die." Qin Haodong glanced at Wang Jinshi, who was still arrogant and domineering. There's an old saying in Wuxia. Don't beat the greedy or the lazy, but beat the ignorant. You still don't understand the situation. That's exactly what I mean. He waved his hand behind him and said, "Slap him." After receiving the order, Zhang Tiniu took 2 steps forward without hesitation. He grabbed Wang Jinshi like he was grabbing a chick and slapped him in the face. "How dare you slap me? I'm the vice president of the Lutheran Society." Wang Jinshi was indeed the kind of person who was ignorant. He was used to being arrogant, but now he wanted to show off his power as the vice president. But Zhang Tiniu wouldn't let him off. He slapped Wang Jinshi in the face before he finished his words. Not only did he swallow the second half of his words, but his teeth also fell to the ground. Seeing the vice president being slapped, many members of the Lutheran Society became restless. Bang! 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 Muffled gunshots rang out one after another. Another 7 or 8 people fell to the ground. The scene suddenly fell into silence. Only the sound of Zhang Tiniu slapping Wang Jinshi's face resounded in the night sky. The firepower of the Daddy Security Company was too strong. In front of them, the members of the Lutheran Society were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They had no capital to speak at all. Wang Zhendong said with a livid face, "Let go of my brother, and we can talk about anything else." One of his brothers was disabled, and the other was slapped in the face in public. This kind of shame made him crazy. But for the Lutheran Society, he had to force himself to stay rational. Chapter 436. Qin Haodong didn't even look at Wang Zhendong. He put his hands behind his back and carefully counted the stars in the sky. Without his order, Zhang Tiniu wouldn't stop. He slapped Wang Jinshi's cheeks back and forth. The sound of slapping made people's scalps tingle. Wang Zhendong clenched his fists and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. But he knew that it was useless to get angry at this time. He would only humiliate himself. After a long time of suffering, Qin Haodong said faintly, "It's done." Zhang Tiniu slapped Wang Jinshi one last time and then returned to Qin Haodong's side. Wang Zhendong hurriedly asked 2 of his men to help Wang Jinshi up. At this time, Wang Jinshi, the vice president, was no longer arrogant. His handsome face was now like a pig's head. If Wang Zhendong hadn't seen him being beaten with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that the person in front of him was his brother. Qin Haodong looked at the Ruan brothers again and asked, "Can we talk now?" Wang Zhennan said, "Of course, Mr. Qin. We'd like to talk with you, but this is not a good place to talk. How about going to the hall?" As the think tank of the Lutheran Society, Wang Zhennan had already seen the situation clearly. It was impossible to fight against this young man face to face, because the 30 gunmen behind him were too powerful. They were like killing gods. The best way to solve the current situation was to separate Qin Haodong from these people, and then capture the leader first. As long as Qin Haodong was captured, his men would have to be cautious. Although he thought so, he didn't have much hope. He could only make a desperate attempt. If he were in Qin Haodong's position, he would never separate from his men. But something surprising happened. Qin Haodong said without hesitation, "Yes, as long as the Lutheran Society is sincere, we can talk anywhere." He said yes. He actually said yes. Ruan Zhennan suppressed his ecstasy and tried to keep calm. He said, "Mr. Qin, please come with me." As he spoke, he turned around and winked at one of his confidants behind him. Then he and Ruan Zhendong led Qin Haodong to the gate of the villa behind them. Originally, he wanted to dissuade Qin Haodong from bringing too many men into the house. But before he could speak, Qin Haodong said to Zhang Tiniu and the others, "Wait for me here. I'll have a good talk with gang leader Wan." After that, he took Lin Momo and the little fellow into the living room of the villa. As the Emperor Greenwood who had lived for 500 years, Qin Haodong could see through Ruan Zhennan's plan at a glance. However, today's purpose was to establish power in the Lutheran society. Only by making them use all their means could they be completely convinced. As soon as they entered the villa, one of Ruan Zhennan's men hurriedly left. His name was Zhao Er, and he had been following Ruan Zhennan for more than 10 years. Naturally, he understood what his master wanted him to do. He took out his phone and dialed a number, then hurried to the backyard. In a corner of the Lutheran Society's manor, there was a 3-room tile-roofed house. The tile-roofed house looked a little out of place with other buildings, but there was a special old man living there. As gangsters, the Ruan brothers were very clear about the importance of masters. A year ago, Ruan Zhennan invited an old man named Gu Chuanxiu. The old man looked ordinary, but he was very arrogant. The Ruan brothers also served him very carefully. They gave him whatever he wanted, and built a tile-roofed house here according to his requirements. At first, the people of the Lutheran Society were not convinced by Gu Chuanxiu. They thought that the old man was here to cheat them. Until one day, Gu Chuanxiu defeated 30 members of the Bloody Clothes team by himself. At the same time, he defeated the instructor of the Bloody Clothes team, Anthony, with one move, which shocked everyone. Everyone then knew that the old man was a legendary master. Since then, no one dared to provoke him. Gu Chuanxiu also sat in the room all day to practice, and rarely went out. The Ruan brothers also regarded him as their last trump card. They would not take him out unless it was a critical moment. Today was obviously a critical moment. After receiving Ruan Zhennan's instructions, Zhao Er hurried over to ask Gu Chuanxiu for help. Qin Haodong followed the Ruan brothers into the living room, as if he had returned to his own home. There was no vigilance on his face, and he completely ignored the 4 or 5 bodyguards that Ruan Zhennan brought in. Then he looked around. The Lutheran Society was indeed a rich gang. The 200-square-meter hall was extremely luxuriously decorated. It seemed that he would have to extort more money from them later. After both of them sat down, Ruan Zhendong glanced at the 4 bodyguards behind him. He felt much more at ease when he saw the pistols on their waists. He said, "Mr. Qin, tell me, how do you want to deal with what happened today?" Qin Haodong said, "Ruan Chengfa brought people to kill me for $150 million. It's very simple. That is, give me another $150 million as mental compensation. What else?" A fierce light flashed in Ruan Zhendong's eyes. This guy had messed with his place, taken $150 million, and destroyed many of his best men. Now he was asking for more money from him. He really thought that the Lutheran Society was his ATM machine. Qin Haodong didn't care about his murderous eyes at all. He said lightly, "Also, you stole my jade. You must return it to me." Ruan Zhennan said, "Mr. Qin, let's be frank. That jade has already been replaced by you. How can we return it to you? Did they switch? That's impossible. You must have hidden it." Qin Haodong looked at them playfully and said, "If you don't return the jade, then you'll have to pay $1 billion. Ruan Zhendong's expression changed. He said in a deep voice, $1 billion. Do you think the Lutheran Society is a bank? Qin Haodong said, I don't care what you are. This jade is worth that price. Someone offered $1 billion at the raw gemstone exhibition, but I didn't sell it. So, the Lutheran Society got a big bargain. How about this, I'll give you a small change. Just give me 7 billion yuan, 7 billion yuan. What a joke. Wan Zhenan said with a sullen face, Qin, do you think you can talk to us like this now? Qin Haodong didn't seem to see his threat. He said lightly, what's wrong? Is there anything different? Wan Zhendong said, those men here can't help you. You're the meat on our chopping board now. What qualifications do you have to bargain with us? After saying that, he waved his hand, and the 4 bodyguards behind him reached for the pistols at their waists. However, just as their hands touched the handles of the guns, each of them had a shiny silver needle in between their eyebrows, and then they fell to the ground dejectedly. Wan Zhendong and Wan Zhenan felt that something was wrong. They quickly looked back and saw that the 4 bodyguards were dead. They were shocked. Qin Haodong just raised his hand. They didn't even see anything, but the 4 bodyguards were killed just like that. Only then did they realize that even without Zhang Tiniu and the others, his men still couldn't take out their guns in front of Qin Haodong. No wonder Qin Haodong turned a blind eye to them when they brought the bodyguards in. It turned out that he didn't take them seriously at all. He could kill them by raising his hand. Qin Haodong looked at the 2 panicked men and said, I really don't know where you got the courage to think that I'm the meat on your chopping board. Well, without the bodyguards, Wan Zhendong and Wan Zhenan lost their confidence. They kept looking at the door, hoping that Gu Chuanxiu would come soon. Qin Haodong knew what they were thinking. He smiled and said, You've tried so hard to invite me to the living room. Do you have any tricks up your sleeves? Don't worry. Just use whatever tricks you have. I'll take them all. I'll make sure that the Lutheran Society is convinced today. Where did you come from? You're so arrogant. As soon as he finished speaking, an old man with a long beard walked in from outside the living room. The old man looked ordinary, but in fact, he was half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm. He was only a little bit away from the Supreme Power Realm. After seeing the old man, the Ruan brothers felt like they had seen their savior. They hurried to greet him and said, Senior Gu, we'll have to trouble you this time. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, no one can touch the Lutheran Society. Gu Chuanxiu used to be a rogue cultivator. He didn't belong to any sect. After a lifetime of cultivation, he finally touched the threshold of the Supreme Power Realm. That was why he stayed in the Lutheran Society and concentrated on cultivation. He hoped that one day he could break through the bottleneck and directly become a Supreme Power Realm Master. These days, he had received a lot of gifts from the Lutheran Society. The Ruan brothers would give him any rare medicinal materials he needed. Now that the Lutheran Society was in big trouble, he couldn't just stand by and watch. After patting his chest to make a guarantee, he turned to look at Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. In his opinion, the 2 young men were nothing special except that they were a little handsome. He didn't understand how the Lutheran Society, which had always been arrogant, had turned out to be like this. At the same time, Qin Haodong was also looking at Gu Chuanxiu. He had thought that the Ruan brothers had some great trump card, but it turned out that they were just an old man half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm. If it had been a month ago, he would have turned around and run when he saw Gu Chuanxiu. But it was different now. Even Lin Momo had reached the early stage of the Gold Core Realm, which was equivalent to the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm. How could she take an old man half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm seriously? Qin Haodong and Lin Momo both practiced cultivation methods. Ordinary people couldn't see the depth of their cultivation at all. Gu Chuanxiu naturally didn't know his cultivation method either. He said proudly, Boy, kneel in front of gang leader Wan and beg for mercy right now. I can spare your life. Qin Haodong smiled disdainfully and said to Wan Zhendong, "Is this old man your trump card? To be honest, he's still too weak. Do you have any other cards? Play them all together." Gu Chuanxiu flew into a rage when he saw that the young man didn't take him seriously at all. "Boy, you're courting death." Qin Haodong glanced at him and said with a smile, "Old man, you're not convinced, are you? Well, as long as you can defeat my child's mother, you can do whatever you want today. If you can't even defeat my wife, then don't blame me for being rude." He was doing this to hone Lin Momo's cultivation. Lin Momo was different from Yagi Yukheim and Hu Shaoxian. She had suddenly turned from an ordinary person to a third-level Supreme Power Realm Master. She had cultivation, but her moves and fighting experience were still lacking. If she fought with an expert of the same level, she would definitely be at a disadvantage. She had to find someone to hone her skills. It was not easy to find an opponent. If her level was too low, she wouldn't be able to practice. It was perfect to use the old man half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm as a whetstone. He took the little fellow from Lin Momo and said, "Momo, beat this guy hard. Don't be polite." Chapter 437. Wan Zhendong and Wan Zhennan's eyes lit up. They shouted in unison, "Will you keep your word?" It was no wonder that they were excited. Although Gu Chuanxiu was very powerful, they didn't dare to bet all their money on him after seeing Qin Haodong's acupoint shooting with silver needles. Moreover, Qin Haodong had 30 extremely powerful men outside, and the Lutheran society couldn't compete with them. However, it was different to deal with the beautiful woman in front of them. In their opinion, Gu Chuanxiu could defeat Lin Momo no matter what. Qin Haodong said, "Of course. I always keep my word. I won't rob you after losing money like you did." Seeing that he was serious, Lin Momo asked nervously, "Haodong, can I do it?" Although Qin Haodong had taught her some skills and moves after she reached the early stage of the Gold Core realm, she had never fought with anyone before. She was inevitably nervous. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and patted her on the shoulder with the other. He said, "Don't worry. This old man is very stupid. You can beat him easily." Seeing that her mother was going to fight, the little fellow clapped her hands excitedly and shouted, "Come on, Mama. Beat this old man." Lin Momo nodded. She had a kind of blind trust in Qin Haodong now. Moreover, with Qin Haodong by her side, she wouldn't let herself suffer any losses. Gu Chuanxiu was about to go crazy with anger. After all, he was an expert who was about to step into the Supreme Power Realm. Now he was being despised by the three of them in front of him. It was too much. "Since you want to die, I'll send you three to hell together." Gu Chuanxiu shouted angrily and raised his hand to slap Lin Momo's face. Seeing that the old man was going to make a move, Lin Momo gritted her teeth and closed her eyes to slap him as well. Seeing that Lin Momo had to close her eyes to make a move, Gu Chuanxiu became even angrier. His palm collided with Lin Momo's palm fiercely. With a loud bang, a shocking scene appeared. Lin Momo stood there without moving, but Gu Chuanxiu was shaken 7 or 8 steps back. The powerful genuine qi made the old man's eyebrows and beard stand up. Seeing the scene in front of them, Wan Zhendong and Wan Zhennan were so shocked that they almost bit their tongues. They knew very well how powerful Gu Chuanxiu was. He was a ruthless man who could defeat Anthony in one move. However, he was defeated by the woman in front of them. It was unbelievable. The one who was most shocked was Gu Chuanxiu. He was a master who was half a step to the Supreme Power Realm and was very close to entering the ranks of the Supreme Power Realm. However, the internal strength of the woman in front of him was stronger than his, and it was not just a little bit stronger. Could it be that this woman was a Supreme Power Realm? How could this be? He had never heard of such a young female grandmaster. After repelling Gu Chuanxiu with one palm, Lin Momo opened her eyes and felt much more at ease. It seemed that the old man was not very strong. If Gu Chuanxiu could hear her voice, he would definitely break down immediately. What did she mean by not very strong? He was a half-step to the supreme power realm. She was the one who was too strong, okay? No. No. First of all, you can't close your eyes when facing the enemy. Second, you must unite your essence, qi, and spirit. You didn't even use 1/10 of the power of the move just now. If you can unite your mind and spirit, you can definitely make the old man vomit blood. Qin Haodong was busy giving instructions on the spot. Hearing his words, Gu Chuanxiu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What is this? Is he taking me as a normal training partner? This is too much. However, he had no time to care about anything else. He rushed to Lin Momo again and attacked Lin Momo with all kinds of skills, such as fists, palms, fingers, legs, and feet. After all, Lin Momo was just a beginner. In any case, she was an expert at the third level of the Supreme Power Realm, which was several levels higher than Gu Chuanxiu. Moreover, she practiced the cultivation method, so her 6 senses were extremely sharp. Although she was busy for a while, she still managed to deal with the attacks. Qin Haodong secretly nodded. It seemed that the whetstone was just right. If her cultivation was a little lower, she would not be able to train her. If her cultivation was a little higher, Lin Momo would be defeated. He kept giving instructions to Lin Momo on the spot. You used the 5 Phoenix Rising Sun too early. You should change it faster, this move is wrong. You should slap him in the mouth, and this move, you should kick his ass. The little fellow kept clapping her hands to encourage Lin Momo. Mommy, come on, mommy, beat him hard. Gu Chuanxiu was so angry that his beard twitched. Is this really a fight between masters? On one side, there is on-site guidance, and on the other side, there is shouting slogans. Who do they think they are? In anger, he kept increasing his attacks, wanting to defeat Lin Momo as soon as possible. However, the gap between their cultivation was too big. No matter how hard he tried, he could not change this fact. On the contrary, as she became more familiar with the moves, Lin Momo became more and more calm, and her moves became more and more experienced. Under Qin Haodong's guidance, her combat effectiveness continued to improve. Under this situation, the situation on the field began to change dramatically. At the beginning, Lin Momo was tired to deal with the attacks, but gradually, Gu Chuanxiu was at a disadvantage. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, Lin Momo's advantage in cultivation slowly came into play. She hit Gu Chuanxiu's shoulder with her palm and directly sent him flying. Ruan Zhendong and Ruan Zhennan's expressions changed greatly. They never expected that the unattainable Gu Chuanxiu in their eyes would be defeated by the woman brought by Qin Haodong. Gu Chuanxiu's eyes also turned red with anger. He was an expert half a step to the Supreme Power Realm, and he had his own pride. In any case, he could not accept being defeated in this way. Qin Haodong said excitedly, "You don't accept it, do you?" "Again, this time doesn't count." Turning his head, he said to Lin Momo, "You did a good job this time. You've made progress, but you're still not very skilled in using your strength. It's a little late. Otherwise, this old man would definitely vomit blood. Pay more attention this time." Gu Chuanxiu had never thought that he, a half-step to the Supreme Power Realm, would be used as a training target. Where was the dignity and pride of the strong? In anger, he rushed to Lin Momo again. Unfortunately, anger was useless in front of strength. As Lin Momo continued to improve, the gap between them became wider and wider. This time, Gu Chuanxiu only lasted for less than 5 minutes. Once again, Lin Momo kicked him in the butt and he directly flew out. Again. Gu Chuanxiu rushed back like a madman. At this time, his spirit was on the verge of collapse. 3 minutes later, he was hit in the back by Lin Momo's palm. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Haodong shouted, "You did a good job this time. You're much more skilled than before, but you must control your strength. You can't use too much strength. This old man is too old. If he gets injured, no one will be your training partner." Hearing this, Gu Chuanxiu vomited a large mouthful of blood again. "No, I give up." Qin Haodong hurriedly shouted, "Don't. The Lutheran Society is counting on you. You can't give up. The last round doesn't count. Let's start again." The fourth time, Gu Chuanxiu was hit by Lin Momo again. He began to vomit blood in the air. He got up from the ground and looked at Qin Haodong with a frightened face. He said, "No, I really don't want to fight this time. If you hit me again, my old bones will die, it doesn't matter. Let's do it again. Just one more time. I'll tell her to be gentle." Qin Haodong tried to persuade Gu Chuanxiu. But this time, no matter how hard he tried, Gu Chuanxiu would not fight again. The palm just now was not light. If he continued to fight, he would really die here. The most important thing was that he had seen the gap between his cultivation and Lin Momo's. No matter how hard he tried, he could not understand where this freak had come from. She obviously had no martial arts background, but her cultivation was frighteningly high. "Well, since you're old, let's stop today. We'll practice another day." Qin Haodong turned his head to look at the Ruan brothers and said, "What do you think? What else do you have to say? If there's a master, we can find him again. The last round doesn't count." Ruan Zhendong and Ruan Zhennan were completely dumbfounded. Originally, they had called Qin Haodong to the reception room because they wanted to capture Qin Haodong first and use him to threaten those ruthless people outside. But they had never expected that the two young men in front of them were even more ruthless. Even Gu Chuanxiu, who was regarded as a god, was beaten like a dog. What else could they do? Only then did they realize what kind of person they had provoked. If they had known that Qin Haodong was so powerful, they would not have dared to think about the jade, which was worth $10 billion, let alone $1 billion. Now they could not afford to provoke him. What if they couldn't beat him? Did they really have to pay 7 billion yuan? But the number was too big. Even if they were willing, the Lutheran Society could not afford that much money. Even though Ruan Zhennan was known as a resourceful person, he had no way to deal with Qin Haodong's power. Just when the two of them were at a loss, Zhao Er suddenly ran in from outside and shouted, "President, General Li Site is here. He brought a lot of people with him. They have surrounded us. That's great. Thank God. The reinforcements are finally here." Ruan Zhendong felt like crying. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, no matter how good his martial arts skills were, General Li Site was the master of the Golden Triangle after all. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, it was impossible for him to fight against tens of thousands of troops. Ruan Zhennan was also relieved. The Lutheran Society had always been on good terms with General Li Site, especially with Han Baochang. Just in case, he had asked Zhao Er to call Han Baochang and briefly explain the situation here. He did not expect that General Li Site would come in person, which showed how much importance he attached to the Lutheran Society. After the excitement, he pulled Ruan Zhendong back a few steps, for fear that Qin Haodong would take them as hostages. Then he shouted, "Qin, I'm telling you, you're going to die today. General Li Site will definitely help us." Qin Haodong smiled and sat back on the sofa with the little fellow in his arms. "That's great. I'll wait here and see what General Li Site will do for you." While they were talking, there was a noise at the door. A group of soldiers with live ammunition broke in first. Then General Li Site, in a general's uniform, strode into the living room, followed by the butler, Han Baochang. Ruan Zhendong immediately walked up and said excitedly, "General, you're finally here. You have to help us. The Lutheran Society has been bullied badly, but halfway through his words, he was surprised to find that General Li Site did not pay attention to him at all. Instead, he strode to Qin Haodong and asked with concern, "Dr. Qin, are you all right?" He was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Wasn't General Li Site here to help him? Chapter 438. Seeing General Li Site's respectful attitude towards Qin Haodong, Wang Zhendong and Wang Zhennan were completely dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do for a while. What they didn't know was that General Li Site seemed to be dozens of years younger after taking the physique-improving pill left by Qin Haodong. He was grateful and respectful to the young man in front of him. When he heard that Qin Haodong had a conflict with the Lutheran Society, he immediately rushed over with his men. Otherwise, the Lutheran Society wouldn't have made him come in person. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "General, I'm fine. I'm talking to the two presidents." Li Site asked, "Dr. Qin, what's going on? If the Lutheran Society has wronged you, tell me. I'll help you." Hearing that, Wang Zhendong and Wang Zhennan almost cried out. How could he be wronged? It's always been the Lutheran Society that has been wronged. Now, their strength, money and face were damaged. They couldn't be more wronged. At that moment, the excitement on their faces had disappeared. They had rejoiced for nothing. It was obvious that General Li Site was there to support that guy. The Lutheran Society was completely finished. Qin Haodong said, "General, I found a treasure at the raw gemstone exhibition today. It's a piece of jade worth $1 billion. After the Lutheran Society got the news, they took it away. Then I won some money in the boxing field of the Lutheran Society. However, they couldn't afford to lose, so they sent people to take it away. I think the Lutheran Society has gone too far, so I came here to talk to the two presidents." General Li Site banged the table after hearing that. He turned his head and glared at Wang Zhendong and Wang Zhennan. He said, "What do you want? Don't you know that Dr. Qin is my guest? How dare you take Mr. Qin's thing? Give it back now." The Ruan brothers' faces turned bitter. They thought to themselves, "What did I get? How dare you give it back? It's just a worthless stone. You don't want it." Wang Zhendong said with a bitter face, "General, there's a misunderstanding. We didn't know that Mr. Qin was your guest. Otherwise, we wouldn't have dared to do it. At the same time, we really didn't get that jade. The car with the jade is parked in your yard. This is called catching the culprit red-handed." Qin Haodong then showed a magnanimous expression, "Well, I'll be more generous. I don't care if you hid or lost the priceless jade, I won't care about it anymore. Just pay me the money." Wang Zhendong almost burst into tears. He thought to himself, "Is this King magnanimity? This is daylight robbery. I didn't even take your things, so why should I compensate you?" But now the situation was like this. Even List was on Qin Haodong's side. What else could they do? Compensation was inevitable, so they could only beg Qin Haodong to ask for less. He said with a bitter face, "Mr. Qin, first of all, the Lutheran Society is indeed in the wrong. We are willing to compensate you, but the price you mentioned is too high. Even if we were to be dismantled, we wouldn't have 7 billion yuan. 7 billion yuan. List was shocked to hear this number. As an experienced Jianghu man, he had basically figured out what was going on. Qin Haodong was making trouble for the Lutheran Society. Anyway, the Lutheran Society would hand over half of its income to him every year. He couldn't just stand by and watch. He said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, the Lutheran Society seems to be doing well and can make a lot of money every year, but it also has a lot of expenses. There are many people in the gang, and every place needs money. 7 billion yuan is really too much. They can't afford it at all. For my sake, could you ask them to compensate less?" "Well, since you've spoken, I won't argue with them anymore. Anyway, that jade was picked up from the river. It didn't cost me much. Qin Haodong said to Ruan Zhendong, tell me, how much can you compensate me? Ruan Zhendong said, to tell you the truth, we can't afford $1 billion even if we sell everything we have. How about 1 billion yuan? After listening to him, Qin Haodong lowered his head and thought about it. From the financial situation of the Jade Gang, it could be seen that the Lutheran Society, which was also one of the top 3 gangs, couldn't afford that much money. The main purpose of his visit to the Lutheran Society that day was to establish his power. Money was secondary. Now that he had achieved his goal, the Ruan brothers would not dare to touch his jade pit no matter how much courage they had. Thinking of this, he nodded and said, well, I'm not a greedy person. For General List's sake, 1 billion yuan it is. Ruan Zhendong's heart was bleeding. Qin Haodong had won $150 million from him, which was 1 billion yuan. In the end, he had to pay 1 billion yuan to Qin Haodong. He even made it sound like he was reluctant. I'm a gangster, not a bank. However, he only dared to think about it in his heart. He didn't dare to show it, for fear that Qin Haodong would destroy his Lutheran society if he was unhappy. List breathed a sigh of relief. Although he was on Qin Haodong's side, he didn't want to embarrass the Lutheran society too much. After all, he needed them to make money for him in the future. He said, that's good. I'll be the middleman for you. Let's forget about this. We'll be friends when we meet again in the future. So Ruan Zhendong wrote a check for 1 billion yuan to Qin Haodong as compensation for the apology of the Lutheran Society. After today's incident, the strength of the Lutheran Society had been greatly damaged. They no longer had any advantage among the top 3 gangs. Moreover, 2 billion yuan had almost drained their cash flow. From this point of view, they were not as rich as the Jade Gang and the White Wolf Gang. It would take some time for them to completely recover. After that, Qin Haodong took his people back to his residence. That day was very successful. Not only did he get 2 billion yuan, but he also weakened the strength of the Lutheran Society. Most importantly, he had established his own WeChat among the top 3 gangs in Myanmar. In the future, no one would dare to touch his business. Not long after he came back, Saber came in to report that Gu Chuanxiu wanted to see him. What is this old man doing here? Is he not satisfied with being a sparring partner? Qin Haodong said, let him in. Soon, Saber brought Gu Chuanxiu in. The old man spat out several mouthfuls of blood during the day. He looked a little dispirited. Old man, what can I do for you? Are you not satisfied with the fight just now? Do you want to fight again? No. No. Gu Chuanxiu waved his hands and said with a frightened face, I'm here to ask Mr. Qin for a favor. What do you want from me? Tell me, what's the matter? Gu Chuanxiu said, Mr. Qin, I can see that you're a master. I've been stuck in the half-step supreme power realm for almost 10 years. I've touched the threshold, but I just can't get over it. As long as you can help me break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm, my old life will be yours. It turned out that the old man was completely convinced by Lin Momo today. At the same time, he also realized a problem. Lin Momo's cultivation did not seem to have been achieved through hard work. She had been helped by a master, and that master was probably the young man next to her. Since Qin Haodong could help an ordinary person become a supreme power, he must have a way to help him break through the bottleneck of a half-step supreme power realm. Qin Haodong glanced at him and thought that the old man was quite smart. He said, to be honest, I can help you, but you and I are neither friends nor relatives. Why should I help you? Hearing that Qin Haodong could really help him break through the bottleneck, Gu Chuanxiu was so excited that his beard and eyebrows jumped up. He quickly said, Mr. Qin, as long as you can help me break through, I'll be at your service for the rest of my life. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, well, I'll help you break through, and then you can stay in Myanmar. I've opened a new jade mine here, and you can help me guard the industry here. Gu Chuanxiu said, don't worry, Mr. Qin. If you let me stay in Myanmar, I'll never leave. Qin Haodong was very satisfied with the old man's attitude. He flicked his finger and a big spirit culturing pill fell into Gu Chuanxiu's hand. Eat it, and I'll help you break through now. Gu Chuanxiu knew that if Qin Haodong wanted his life, it would not be so troublesome, so he swallowed the pill without hesitation. Then, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to run his qi to break through. With the help of the big spirit culturing pill, the richness of his genuine qi suddenly doubled, and he began to crazily break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm. Qin Haodong sat next to him and watched for a long time. He thought that the old man's aptitude was really poor. No wonder he was still in the half-step supreme power realm after practicing all his life. He couldn't break through even after taking a big spirit culturing pill. He shook his head gently, went behind Gu Chuanxiu, and slapped him hard on the back of his heart. Gu Chuanxiu was trying his best to break through. Suddenly, there was a click in his mind, as if something had broken. Then, his genuine qi soared and his momentum suddenly rose. He finally broke through the supreme power realm. Feeling the power of the supreme power realm, Gu Chuanxiu was so excited that he even burst into tears. He had worked hard all his life, but he could not cross the threshold. With the help of Qin Haodong, he broke through in just half an hour. Qin Haodong said, "Old man, don't cry. You're crying in my room at night. It seems that I've done something to you. If someone sees it, they will think that I have a special hobby." Gu Chuanxiu raised his hand to wipe away his tears and knelt down in front of Qin Haodong. "Mr. Qin, please accept me as your disciple. Come on, you're too old. I don't want an old disciple like you." Qin Haodong waved his hand and an invisible force lifted Gu Chuanxiu up. Gu Chuanxiu said hurriedly, "I don't care about age." "I do. Look at your big eyebrows and beard. People will think that you're my master if I take you out." Qin Haodong would never accept such an old disciple. He said, "You don't have to be my disciple. Just guard the jade mine for me. You'll benefit a lot in the future." Just now, Gu Chuanxiu had already felt Qin Haodong's strength. Even though he had entered the threshold of the supreme power realm, the gap between them was still huge. He could not compete with Qin Haodong at all. Although he was very disappointed, he also knew that it was a great opportunity to help him break through, so he did not dare to ask for more. "Mr. Qin, don't worry. I, Gu Chuanxiu, will definitely do what you ask me to do." After that, he bowed to Qin Haodong again and turned to leave. So far, the task in Myanmar had been completely completed, and they had gained a lot of extra rewards. Early the next morning, he and Lin Momo took the little fellow back to Jiangnan City by plane. In Neon, Yagyu Yukheim went straight to Yagyu Shinji's room after returning to the Yagyu family. Yagyu Shinji looked happy when he saw her and said, "Yukheim, you're back so soon. How is Qin Haodong? Has he been eradicated?" Yagyu Yukheim said, "This trip to Myanmar was very smooth. I've killed Qin Haodong, but I still have a very important thing to report to my father." Just yesterday, I broke through to the second level of Heavenly Ninja. Now, I am an expert of the second level of Heavenly Ninja, the highest achievement in the history of the Yagyu family. Now, even without you, no one dares to provoke our Yagyu family, because they can't bear the anger of a second-level Heavenly Ninja. After that, the momentum of his body suddenly rose, shattering the kimono he was wearing, revealing his strong muscles. How is it? See, this is the strength of a second-level Heavenly Ninja. Obediently lie on the bed and wait for me to pamper you. Lucky. After that, Yagyu Shinji laughed wildly again. In his opinion, he had completely controlled the situation, and Yagyu Yukheim could only be a helpless sheep. Ravaged by him. Yagyu Shinji, it's too early for you to be happy. Yagi Yukaim said, do you know why I didn't choose a sneak attack? Instead, I wanted to kill you openly, because I have full confidence. Yagyu Shinji smiled disdainfully and said, confidence? What confidence do you have? In the face of a second-level heavenly ninja expert, what else can you do but tremble? Let me tell you, Qin Haodong is not dead. He is now my master, and he helped me improve my cultivation. What? You actually recognize a Wuxia person as your master? You are so shameless. Yagyu Shinji suddenly became angry. He looked at Yagyu Yukaim and said angrily, how did your aura change? Have you lost your virginity? Yagyu Yukaim said, of course, as a servant, I have given the most precious thing to my master. Bitch, go to hell. I'll kill you now, and then I'll kill Qin Haodong. Yagyu Shinji had regarded Yagyu Yukaim as his exclusive property all these years, but he didn't expect that his enemy, who had killed his son, would beat him to it. After that, he roared and waved the sword in his hand to cut down Yagyu Yukaim. In his opinion, he had reached the second-level heavenly ninja realm. Yagyu Yukaim, a first-level heavenly ninja, had absolutely no chance to fight back in front of him. Once she entered the heavenly ninja realm, the gap between each level was extremely huge. Even if she had the Dajijiri Yasutsuna, it would be useless. However, at the moment when Yagyu Yukaim attacked, his expression changed and his eyes suddenly widened. A huge pressure covered the sky and covered the earth. It was 10 times stronger than his power. Under this kind of pressure, the sword light he had drawn all over the sky quickly disappeared, leaving only a lonely sword. The air seemed to have solidified, which made the speed of his sword quickly decrease. Then he felt a sharp pain in his wrist, and his arm holding the sword fell to the ground together with the sword. You are actually a third-level heavenly ninja realm. How is this possible? How is this possible? Yagyu Shinji couldn't believe everything in front of him. He had worked hard for most of his life and barely reached the second-level heavenly ninja realm. But the woman in front of him was just 20 years old. How could she become a third-level heavenly ninja realm? If she wasn't a third-level heavenly ninja realm, how could she cut off his arm with one strike? Yagyu Yukaim held the sword upside down, letting the blood on the tip of the sword drip on the floor. She said with a cold expression, all of this was given to me by my master. He wanted me to kill you to avenge myself. Yagyu Shinji couldn't understand how Qin Haodong had promoted Yagyu Yukaim from the first-level heavenly ninja realm to the third-level heavenly ninja realm in such a short time. Was he an immortal? But at this time, he had no time to think about this. The sword just now had made him completely understand that he was now a piece of meat on the chopping board. He had no ability to resist Yagyu Yukaim at all. He begged, Yukaim, please let me go. Now I'm a useless person. Even if you let me go, I won't pose any threat to you. I will personally pass the position of the family master of the Yagyu family to you and give you all the property of the Yagyu family. Now that your son is dead, even if I kill you, who else can take the position of the family master of the Yagyu family except me? So, go to hell. As Yagyu Yukaim spoke, the Dajijiri Yasutsuna in her hand flashed and directly pierced Yagyu Shinji's heart. Yagyu Shinji's eyes widened. Although his face was full of unwillingness, he could only stop breathing. Yagyu Yukaim pulled out the Dajijiri Yasutsuna and fell to her knees. She muttered, Father, Mother, your daughter has avenged you. Thank you, Master. From today on, Yukaim will never change her love for you. Then, the Yagyu family released 2 pieces of news in succession. The first one was that the family master, Yagyu Shinji, had died of a sudden heart disease. The second one was that Yagyu Yukaim had taken over the position of the family master. After the news was released, it immediately caused a great shock around the Yagyu family. After Yagyu Yukaim entered the ranks of heavenly ninjas, the Yagyu family had monopolized 2 heavenly ninjas, suppressing other families with the same strength. At this time, Yagyu Shinji's death made these families applaud. At the same time, they once again stared at the fat meat of the Yagyu family. The first to stand out was Hanaki Izumi. However, this time, he did not act rashly. Instead, he joined forces with the other four families to attack the Yagyu family, ready to swallow this fat meat together. Yagyu Yukaim was wearing a white mourning dress, which made her look even more beautiful. She sat in front of the mourning hall, looked at the people in front of her, and said in a cold voice, "You guys, what do you mean by coming to the Yagyu family at this time?" Hanaki Inuichiro said with a smile, "Little girl, to tell you the truth, Yagyu Shinji died. We all agreed that there was no need for the Yagyu family to exist anymore. You don't have to live so hard as a woman. From today on, move to our Hanaki family and be my seventh wife. I promise you that you won't have to worry about food and drink for the rest of your life." After that, he laughed wildly, as if he had already seen the enchanting scene of Yagyu Yukaim lying on his bed. Yagyu Yukaim looked at the masters of the other four families and asked again, "Do you have the same idea?" Fujita Takashi, the master of the Fujita family, said, "We think so too, but we don't want people. We only want money. Just give each of us 1/5 of the Yagyu family's property." The masters of the other three families nodded one after another. In their opinion, the Yagyu family had no ability to resist at this time. Yagyu Yukaim glanced at them and sneered, "What a big tone. Do you really think that there is no one in our Yagyu family?" Hanaki Inuichiro said with a smile, "Yukaim baby, don't resist. It's stupid to resist without strength." Before he finished speaking, he saw a cold light flash in Yagyu Yukaim's hand. Then, with a clatter, an ear fell to the ground. Whose ear is this? As soon as Hanaki Inuichiro finished speaking, he felt a sharp pain in his ear. He immediately realized that it was his ear. Suddenly, he was scared out of his wits. It was not a big deal to lose an ear. The most important thing was that he just didn't see how Yagyu Yukaim did it. She had already cut off his ear. What kind of cultivation was this? Perhaps even a level 2 heavenly ninja was not so terrifying. You, he looked at Yagyu Yukaim in horror, but he couldn't even say a complete sentence. The masters of the other four families also changed their expressions. An expert could tell if he was powerful or not. They immediately realized that even if they went all out, they could not stop Yagyu Yukaim's terrifying knife. Yagyu Yukaim inserted the Dojijiri Yasutsuna into the floor in front of her. A huge knife cheek quickly shrouded the 5 people, which made it very difficult for them to breathe. They didn't have the courage to use their knives at all. Is this a level 3 heavenly ninja? The 5 people seemed to think of something terrible. They were so scared that their faces turned as pale as paper. In Japan, the strong were always respected. When they realized that Yagyu Yukaim was already a level 3 heavenly ninja, the 5 people immediately lost the will to fight and knelt on the ground. "Lord Yukaim, we have offended your dignity. We will accept any punishment." Yagyu Yukaim said in a cold voice, "I'll give each of you 2 choices. Either buy your life with $300 million or die." Chapter 440. Yagyu Yukaim knew the situation of the big families very well. $300 million could cut off a piece of meat from these families, but it was not enough to make them lose a lot of strength. Therefore, the masters of these families chose to pay for their lives. An hour later, the Yagyu family had $1.5 billion in their account, which was equivalent to 10 billion yuan. It had to be said that Yagyu Yukaim was very resourceful. As soon as she sat on the throne of the family master, she quickly eased the financial tension of the family. At the same time, she revealed her cultivation of level 3 heavenly ninja realm, so that other families would not dare to have any ideas about the Yagyu family. The opposition within the Yagyu family was also completely suppressed. In other words, although she had just become the head of the family, she had the entire Yagyu family firmly in her hands. After doing all this, Yagyu Yukheim dialed Qin Haodong's number. Qin Haodong had just walked out of Jiangnan Airport. When he saw Yagyu Yukheim's phone number, he pressed the answer button. "Master, I've killed Yagyu Shinji." Qin Haodong said, "Oh, congratulations. You got your revenge." "Thank you, master." "It's nothing. You don't have to thank me." Qin Haodong said, "You can call me boss from now on. It sounds more comfortable." "Yes, boss." Yagyu Yukheim would not object to any of Qin Haodong's orders. She added, "I'm now the master of the Yagyu family and have complete control over it. I'll listen to you at any time." "Okay, you stay in Neon for now. I'll call you if I need anything in the future." After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he hung up the phone. This was also good news for him. In any case, the Yagyu family was a great help to him. After they left the airport, Lin Momo hurried to Lin's group. This time, she had purchased a large number of raw stones from Myanmar, which had completely solved the raw material dilemma of Lin's group. It was enough for her to be busy for a while. Qin Haodong returned to the Daddy Security Company and handed the little fellow to Naylan Wushuang. Then, he took out his mobile phone and dialed the number of the carving master, Su Haichuan. After a few polite words, he said, "Master Su, please come to my place. I have something good to show you." Su Haichuan said, "Dr. Qin, do you want me to carve something?" "Let me tell you, this old man has already closed the mountain. Why don't I send Xiaolong over now? His craftsmanship is not much worse than mine." Ever since Qin Haodong cured Su Xiaolong last time, Su Haichuan had handed over all his work to his son. All he did was raise flowers and feed the fish, living a leisurely life. Qin Haodong was very clear about Su Haichuan's craftsmanship. Although Su Xiaolong had inherited most of his skills, he was still a little inferior to the old man. His big jade was a treasure, so naturally, the old man had to do it himself. He said, "Master Su, this is a good thing. As long as you come and take a look, I won't stop you even if you turn around and leave." Qin Haodong knew the temper of this kind of carving master very well. He would not be able to control himself when he saw the top-grade jade. At that time, it would be impossible for him to stop. "All right, I'll go with Xiaolong now." Su Haichuan hung up the phone. The reason why he agreed to go was entirely for the sake of Qin Haodong. Deep down, he had no intention of fighting. In his opinion, he had been dealing with jade all his life and had seen all kinds of good things. At that time, he would casually take a look and then let his son do it. He went to the yard and called Su Xiaolong. They drove to Daddy Security Company together. Qin Haodong knew that Su Haichuan would not be able to control himself from carving this jade, so he directly vacated a room in Daddy Security Company as his future studio. The value of this jade was too high. If it was placed in Su Haichuan's home, once the news was leaked, it was likely to bring disaster to this family. Therefore, it was suitable to place it in Daddy Security Company. There were not many places in the world safer than here. After a while, Su Haichuan and his son came in. After greeting, Su Haichuan said, "Dr. Qin, where is the thing you asked me to see? Did you find the king's green again?" After entering the door, he did not notice the expensive jade that had been placed in the room. In his impression, such a big thing could only be a stone, not a jade, so he did not pay much attention to it. "I don't have the king's green." Qin Haodong pointed to the expensive jade and said, "I showed you this treasure. Why do you want me to see this thing? I tell you, I am a jade carver, not a stone carving master." Su Haichuan said as he turned his head to look at the expensive jade. When he saw the window on the jade, he suddenly seemed to be frozen, standing there stupidly. Su Xiaolong was also surprised and opened his mouth wide. "My God, is this jade?" Both father and son walked to the expensive jade as if they had been enchanted. While touching the window, they exclaimed, "Such a big jade, such a good water type. My God, this is the king of jade." Qin Haodong did not speak. He just looked at Su Haichuan and his son with a smile. He thought it was a good name. It was neither domineering nor smooth to call the expensive jade. The name Jade King was better. After a long time, the father and son came to their senses. Su Haichuan said excitedly, "Dr. Qin, where did you get this jadeite king?" Qin Haodong said, "I went to Myanmar these days and picked up this treasure by chance. I wanted to ask Master Su to carve it, but unfortunately, you have retired, so I had to ask Xiaolong to do it." He turned to Su Xiaolong and said, "Xiaolong, it seems that you have to work hard." Su Xiaolong said excitedly, "Don't worry, Dr. Qin. I won't let you down." As an engraver, no one would be able to control their hands after seeing such a good piece of jade. One had to know that once this piece of jade was produced, it would definitely become a masterpiece that would be passed down through the ages. Get out of here. How can you be worthy of the Jade King? What if you fail? Su Haichuan pushed Su Xiaolong away and said flatteringly, "Dr. Qin, I'm just joking with you. How could I collect mountains? I just haven't found anything suitable. Give me this jadeite king, and I'll make it an immortal work that will cause a sensation in Huaxiao." Qin Haodong saw the father and son fighting. Although he was amused, he put on a melancholy expression and said, "Master Su, you are not young. Can you carve such a big jade? Why don't you let Xiaolong do it? After all, he is young and energetic." "Nonsense. I can't do anything else, but I'm not convinced by anyone when it comes to carving." Su Haichuan was really anxious and said, "Well, Dr. Qin, as long as you give me the Jade King, I won't charge you a penny, as long as you let me carve it." As a carver who had been immersed in the jade industry for a lifetime, he was very eager to have a perfect masterpiece, so he was determined to get the Jade King in front of him. Seeing his father anxious, Su Xiaolong said, "Dad, why don't you let me help you?" Su Haichuan said, "No, I can do it myself." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Well, I'll leave this jadeite king to you. You can carve it however you want, as long as you can make the best use of it. As for your commission, I won't pay you a penny less. It doesn't matter if it's money or not." Su Haichuan stroked the Jade King excitedly, as if he was stroking the skin of his lover. "We have a deal. You must give it to me. You can't go back on your word." Qin Haodong said, "From today on, this room and this Jade King are yours. Just let me know when it's done." After that, he left the Jade King to the father and son of the Su family and walked out of the room. As soon as he walked out of the door, he saw Zhang Tiniu sitting in a corner of the training ground, stooping and smoking. Zhang Tiniu was originally a tall and strong man, but at this time, he looked sad and bleak. No one knew what he was thinking, and he didn't even notice Qin Haodong coming to him. Qin Haodong squatted down next to him and said, "What's wrong? Is there something worrying you?" "No, nothing." Zhang Tiniu stammered, but it was obvious that he didn't mean it. Qin Haodong raised his hand and punched him on the thick shoulder. "If you have something to say, just say it. Don't be so wishy-washy. People like you always tell lies on your face. Who can you fool?" Zhang Tiniu said awkwardly, "Boss, I do have something, but I'm embarrassed to tell you." Qin Haodong rolled his eyes at him and said, "If you have something to say, just say it. Don't pretend to be shy in front of me." His informal words made Zhang Tiniu feel very cordial. Chapter 441. Seeing that Qin Haodong was serious, Zhang Tiniu took out his mobile phone and dialed his wife's number, asking her to take the child to Jiangnan City immediately. Qin Haodong said to him again, "Go and look for a house now. Choose a good one, a big one, with a good school district. Don't worry about the money. I'll discuss it with Wu Shuang now." Zhang Tiniu mumbled, but I borrowed so much money. When can I pay it back? Did I borrow money from you? Did I ask you to pay it back? Then he ignored Zhang Tinyu and turned to Nalan Wushuang's office. After entering the room, Nalan Wushuang was playing happily with the little fellow. When she saw Qin Haodong, she said, "What's the matter?" "Great Dr. Qin, you finally have time to talk to me." She seemed to be joking, but in fact, she was quite resentful. Not only today, but also recently, Qin Haodong had spent little time with her. Qin Haodong smiled awkwardly and said, "I was just dealing with something. Now I'm finally done." The little fellow cried, "Daddy, did you bring me a gift?" Qin Haodong was speechless. He thought that the child had touched his sore spot. This time, they were fighting and dying in Burma. How could they have time to buy a gift? He pinched the little fellow's face and said with a smile, "You don't have to buy a gift. I'll just send you out." The little fellow laughed and said, "Okay. Okay. I'd like to stay with second mother." Nalan Wushuang also liked the little fellow very much. She said, "You said that you can't take her back after you give her to me." Qin Haodong couldn't make such a decision. If he really gave the little fellow to Nalan Wushuang, Lin Momo would fight with him. He quickly said, "I'm kidding. I'm kidding. How can my little princess be a gift?" Nalan Wushuang glanced at him charmingly and said, "I don't care. Anyway, you owe me a baby." Qin Haodong was suddenly dumbfounded. It seemed that it was not easy to pay off a debt of a child. He smiled embarrassedly and quickly changed the topic. He said, "Wushuang, there's something I want to discuss with you." "What is it?" "Say it." Nalan Wushuang agreed casually and stared at the little fellow in her arms as if she was looking at a treasure. She thought to herself that if she and Qin Haodong had a daughter, she would be so cute. Qin Haodong told him about his encounter with Zhang Tinyu and then said, "These people in our company have paid countless blood and sweat for the whole country and made great contributions to the whole nation, but now they are living a very hard life. What do you think about this? I want to buy a suite for everyone in our security company to solve their living difficulties and save them from living apart from their wives and children for a long time." Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Nalan Wushuang turned her head to look at him and said, "It's a good thing. I understand what you're saying, but don't you know how much it will cost? The company has just been established and the profit is not much. It can't afford such a big expense." Qin Haodong asked, "How many employees are there in our company?" Nalan Wushuang said, "Now there are a total of 200 people, 100 in Jiangnan and 100 in Shanghai. If you buy a house in Jiangnan, you can buy a good one for 2 or 3 million, but if you put it in the economically developed Shanghai, I'm afraid it will cost 7 or 8 million. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "It's not good to divide the houses evenly. How about this? 10 million per person and let them buy a suitable house by themselves, 10 million per person." Nalan Wushuang said with her eyes wide open, "Have you ever calculated how much money it is?" Qin Haodong took out a bank card and said, "There are exactly 2 billion yuan in this card. I'll give it to everyone now." Nalan Wushuang said in surprise, "How do you have so much money? Did you go to Burma to find a rich woman this time?" "What rich woman? Do I look like a gigolo?" Nalan Wushuang nodded and said with certainty, "Yes." The little fellow cried, "Second mother, what is a gigolo?" Only then did they realize that the child was still next to them. Nalan Wushuang quickly explained, "A gigolo means a very white face." "Oh." The little fellow nodded as if she understood. She looked back at Qin Haodong and said, "Papa, then you are a gigolo." Qin Haodong was shocked. Even his own daughter said he was a gigolo. He obviously relied on his own ability to make a living. He said, "Yesterday I extorted a sum of money from the Lutheran Society in Burma. It was exactly 2 billion. This is all my assets. They are all here." After giving the card to Nalan Wushuang, he still sighed in his heart. It was true that he made money quickly, but he spent it even faster. He had made almost 3 billion in Burma and spent 4 billion in the blink of an eye. He even lost 1 billion yuan that the Yagyu family had paid. Now he had become a complete pauper again. However, this trip to Burma also made him deeply feel that these people of Daddy's security company were not afraid even in the face of thousands of troops and bullets. He had such rare subordinates, so he had to let them live a good life and solve their worries. Nayland Wushuang took the card, looked at him and said, "You are thinking about the company's employees. What about me?" Qin Haodong said, "You are the eldest daughter of the Nayland family. Don't you have a house?" Nayland Wushuang said with deep eyes, "I have several houses, but I am a timid person. I am afraid to live alone." "If you are afraid to live alone, then live with Wan, She is also alone." Qin Haodong said as he picked up the little fellow, "You go ahead. I will send Tang Tang back to Momo." After that, he ran out of the office without looking back. Looking at his back, Nayland Wushuang was lost in thought. Since the first time they met, this man had constantly surprised and moved her, creating one miracle after another. Now he gave all his property to his employees. This was definitely not a mind that ordinary people could have. It was a pity that the more outstanding a man was, the more women he liked. It seemed that there was a long way to go in the future. She shook her head and sighed again. Finally, she calmed down and began to busy herself. It was very troublesome to deal with so much money. She first transferred 1 billion yuan to Ma Wenjue, and then divided the 1 billion yuan in her hand into 100 parts. According to the information of the company's employees, she opened a bank card for each person and transferred 10 million yuan. When he distributed the money to the people of Daddy's security company, the big training ground was silent. Qin Haodong's big gift was beyond everyone's expectation. No one thought that the boss would give everyone 10 million yuan. Zhang Tiniu was included. He originally planned to borrow money, but he did not expect that in the blink of an eye, Qin Haodong would give 10 million yuan to each of his comrades. After getting the money, many people's eyes were wet. They were all steel-like soldiers. Even in the face of knives and fire, they were not afraid, but they could not help being moved from the bottom of their hearts. Once, they thought that they were doomed to be lonely, destined to be disabled, destined to be a burden to the country and society, but this young man completely cured them, took them to practice martial arts, and gave them a new life. They used to think that they were doomed to be poor all their lives, unable to buy a house in the city like others, unable to give their families a happy life like others, but this man helped them realize it. No one said anything, no expression, no heroic words, but they all had a common oath in their hearts. They were destined to follow Qin Haodong for the rest of their lives, even if they were to be smashed to pieces. Qin Haodong did not know this. He drove directly to Tangmen Company. After entering the door, Lin Momo said to him with a happy face, "Haodong, I have good news to tell you." The little fellow cried cheerfully, "What good news, Mama? Are you going to treat me and Papa to delicious food? You little foodie, you only know how to eat." Lin Momo held the little fellow in her arms, turned back and said to Qin Haodong, "Lin's group held a board meeting this morning. Everyone was very satisfied with the results of our trip to Myanmar. With everyone's consent, Grandpa decided to transfer 20% of the shares to you." How much would 20% of the shares of Lin's group cost? Qin Haodong was quite surprised. He had just become a poor man, and now he suddenly got so much money. "Why, are you very happy that you don't speak?" No matter what Qin Haodong's reaction was, Lin Momo was really happy. The man she liked could be recognized by the whole family, which was the greatest achievement for her. Qin Haodong said, "It's okay. In fact, these shares are the same to me and to you. Just transfer them directly to your name." Lin Momo said, "How can it be the same? If you give me all the property, you will become a man who lives off a woman. It's good to live off a woman. Of course, living off a woman is better than living off a man. Qin Haodong said and couldn't help glancing at Lin Momo's chest. Lin Momo seemed to feel the intention of his eyes. She stared at him charmingly and said, "Be honest. I have something important to tell you." Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said innocently, "I'm just standing here. How can I not be honest?" Lin Momo put the little fellow on the ground and let her play by herself. Then she said, "Today's family board meeting discussed two major issues. One is to transfer your shares, and the other is how to develop Lin's group in the future." Qin Haodong said, "What's the result?" Lin Momo said, "Since the fall of Feng's group, Lin's group has basically occupied 90% of the jade jewelry market in Jiangnan City. Now we have sufficient raw materials, but there is not much room for expansion in Jiangnan City. If we want to further develop, we can only further strengthen and expand the market beyond Jiangnan City. That's a good thing. It shows that you have a good vision as a big president." Qin Haodong said casually. His eyes kept moving on Lin Momo's curvy body. It seemed that he was more interested in something than the matter in front of him. Lin Momo punched him in the chest and said, "Be honest. Don't let your imagination run wild. I'm talking to you." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "What? Do you know what I'm thinking?" Lin Momo glared at him again and said, "You are a major shareholder of the company now. Where do you think is the best place for us to go next?" Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "In the long run, there are two markets with great potential. One is the capital, and the other is Shanghai. Although the capital is good, it is the center of Wuxia. There are many aristocratic families there. The water is too deep. I'm afraid it is not easy for Lin's group to enter with its current strength. I think Shanghai is better. When we have enough strength, we can attack the capital." Chapter 442. Lin Momo said, "That's what I think too. Since we agree, let's prepare to expand the business of Lin's group to Shanghai immediately." After a pause, she said, "In fact, I think Tangmen Group should also enter Shanghai. After all, it's the commercial center of Wuxia, and the market potential is huge. The most important thing is that it's close to several important breeding bases in Wuxia. It's convenient to purchase medicinal materials, and the transportation cost is low. It's very suitable for the next development of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company." Qin Haodong said, "You're right. Since we're going to enter Shanghai, let's move there together. Since you agree, then I'll make a plan. Shanghai is the economic center of Wuxia, and the cost of building a factory is very high. But your 2 billion yuan is almost enough." "What? What 2 billion? Qin Haodong looked at Lin Momo with a confused face. "Didn't you just get 1 billion yuan and $150 million from the Lutheran Society? That's 2 billion yuan in total." Lin Momo stared at him and said, "Are you still reluctant? Do you want to hide your secret money?" Qin Haodong said with a bitter face, "I don't want to hide my secret money, but I've already spent it." "Spent it?" Lin Momo opened her mouth wide in surprise. "That's 2 billion yuan, not 20 yuan. It's enough to buy hundreds of houses in Shanghai. How could it be spent so quickly?" Qin Haodong said, "You guessed right. I used it to buy houses, and I bought hundreds of houses." Then he told her that he had distributed the money to the members of Daddy Security Company and let them use it to settle down. "Oh. It's good to help employees solve their living difficulties, but unfortunately we're also in urgent need of money now." Lin Momo thought for a moment and said, "How about I borrow some money from Lin's group?" Qin Haodong said, "Forget it. Now you're the president and shareholder of Lin's group, and I'm a shareholder of Lin's group. It's easy to cause suspicion if we borrow money." Lin Momo said, "What should we do? If Lin's group moves to Shanghai, I'll definitely go there to take charge. At that time, Tangmen Company won't be able to take care of it, and will miss such a good opportunity for development. You don't have to worry about it. I'll think of a way to get the money. After saying that, Qin Haodong fell into deep thought. 2 billion was not a small number. Although both the Nayland family and old Maldini would be willing to lend him the money as long as he asked, he did not want to owe them a favor unless it was absolutely necessary. Just then, the phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He took it out and saw it was Long Haisheng. Brother Qin, do you have time tonight? I need your help with something. I have time, big brother Long, if you have something to say, just say it. Long Haisheng hesitated for a moment and said, it's a long story. Why don't you come to me? Alright, I'll be right there. Qin Haodong hung up the phone, said goodbye to Lin Momo, and then drove to Long Haisheng's villa. Walking through the gate, he found that there were people coming and going. They were much more nervous than usual, as if something was about to happen. After entering the door, he asked Long Haisheng, Big Brother Long, what happened? Seeing Qin Haodong coming, Long Haisheng hurriedly invited him to sit down and said, here's the thing, Brother Qin. 3 days ago, Li Ao of Jiangbei City sent me a letter of challenge. We agreed to hold a challenge tournament this afternoon to solve the grudge between us in the way of the underworld. When Long Haisheng mentioned signing the contract, he knew that after Li Hu's death, although Li Ao had not made any further moves, his ambition to take over Jiangnan City had not been eliminated. In the underworld, there were generally 2 ways to solve disputes between 2 parties. One was a large-scale frontal confrontation. However, now that the Wuxia government had higher and higher requirements for social security, this method did not work at all. The other way was to decide the winner through the challenge tournament. The 2 parties first set the conditions, and then solved the dispute in the arena. Li Ao chose this method and directly sent a letter of challenge to Long Haisheng. The conditions agreed by the 2 parties were that if Long Haisheng failed, he would directly hand over the control of the underground world of Jiangnan City and pay 5 billion yuan to Li Ao. If Long Haisheng won, Li Ao would do the same and hand over the control of the underground world of Jiangbei City and pay 5 billion yuan. Hearing this number, Qin Haodong's eyes lit up. It seemed that he had thought of a way to solve the financial problem. Long Haisheng continued, in this challenge tournament, the 2 parties agreed to win 2 out of 3 games. Whoever wins will control the underground world of Jiangnan City and Jiangbei City. Qin Haodong said, Big Brother Long, have you invited a master? Are you sure? Long Haisheng smiled helplessly and said, of course I have invited a master. However, the underworld is the underworld, and martial arts is martial arts. I didn't have much contact with martial arts people before, and I didn't know many masters. In this case, I could only invite Master Yi Kai of Rongwei Martial Arts Club and ask him to invite his senior brother, Master Lei Bao. Master Yi said that his senior brother has reached the half-step to the Supreme Power Realm and will definitely win this game. However, I think since Li Ao made such a request, he must be prepared and must have invited a master, so I'm not sure. Qin Haodong was very clear about Yi Kai's cultivation. He was only at the 5th level of covert power. He could deal with ordinary masters, but he was obviously not good enough for this kind of challenge tournament. He said, Big Brother Long, what do you mean by asking me to come here? Long Haisheng said, Brother Qin, I don't know why, but I always feel that you are around. That's why I asked you to come here and help me. If Lei Bao is not a match for him, I'll have to trouble you. Through several contacts, he felt that as long as Qin Haodong helped, there was nothing that couldn't be done, so he had a sense of trust in his heart. Qin Haodong said, I can help you, but I have a request. Qin Haodong said again, Big Brother Long, I don't care about the underground world, but I want 2 billion yuan of the bet. Long Haisheng said very heroically, Brother Qin, there is no need to talk about money between us. As long as we win this game, you can take all the 5 billion yuan. Qin Haodong said, I only need 2 billion yuan, and this 2 billion yuan is my bet. If I lose, I will also pay the same amount of money to you. Long Haisheng waved his hand and said, no need. Money is just a worldly possession. You and I don't need to be so clear about it. While they were talking, the housekeeper came in from outside with a few people. The one walking in front was a strong man who was 2 meters tall. He looked quite tall and fierce. Behind him was Yi Kai, the owner of Rongwei Martial Arts Club, and his apprentices Zhou Wen and Zhou Wu. Long Haisheng quickly stood up to greet them. Yi Kai introduced, Mr. Long, this is my senior brother Lei Bao. His 8 extremes boxing has been cultivated to perfection. He has reached the half-step to the supreme power realm. With my senior brother here, you don't have to worry about today's game. Maybe it was because of the 8 extremes boxing, or because Lei Bao was born with a hot temper. He said in a rough voice, don't worry, Mr. Long. Today's game will be given to us. We will definitely beat the sh*t out of those bastards. Yi Kai saw Qin Haodong sitting next to him. He hurried to greet him and said, Mr. Qin, you are also here. Since the last incident, Yi Kai admired Qin Haodong's cultivation and medical skills very much, so he spoke very respectfully. After the greeting, he turned to Lei Bao and said, Senior brother, this is Qin Haodong, the Mr. Qin I mentioned to you before. He has reached the half-step to the supreme power realm at such a young age. He will become a supreme power soon. But surprisingly, Lei Bao did not show any enthusiasm after he finished speaking. Instead, he shouted angrily, Boy, is this my junior brother who you won the bet last time? Yi Kai did not expect this reaction from his senior brother. He hurriedly said, Senior brother, you can't blame Mr. Qin for the bet. I was too arrogant. Of course, Qin Haodong would not take this reckless man seriously. He picked up the teacup and took a sip leisurely. He looked up and said, If I hadn't helped you last time, your junior brother would have been killed by Li Hu. You should thank me. Yi Kai followed and said, Yes, senior brother. Although I lost the bet last time, Mr. Qin saved my life and healed my injury. After the last battle, my cultivation has improved again. Now I have reached the 6th level of covert power. Lei Bao was stunned at first, then he bowed to Qin Haodong and said, Thank you for saving my junior brother. He stood up and said, That's a different story. I have already thanked you for saving my junior brother. Now I want to see what you can do and whether you dare to fight with me. Senior brother, you can't do this. Yi Kai hurriedly stopped Lei Bao and then said to Qin Haodong apologetically, Mr. Qin, please don't mind him. That's just my senior brother's temper. Qin Haodong did not dislike Lei Bao's straightforward temper. He smiled and said, You can challenge me if you want, but you have to win the challenge tournament first. If you lose, you are not qualified to challenge me at all. They are just some drug dealers. How can they be my opponents? Lei Bao shook his huge fist and said confidently, Then you wait. After I finish the challenge tournament, I will challenge you. I hope you can stand in front of me. Qin Haodong smiled at Lei Bao. He had already seen through the big man's cultivation. This guy had a good aptitude and was especially suitable for practicing external martial arts. He had practiced Baji boxing to a very high level and was only a little bit away from being a supreme master. If there were no supreme masters on Li Ao's side, Lei Bao should be able to defeat Jiang Bei alone. At this time, Long Haisheng said, It's almost time. Let's go now. Qin Haodong nodded. They left Long Haisheng's villa and rushed to the place where the arena would be set up. Jiangnan and Jiangbei were separated by a river. In order to ensure fairness, the venue of the competition was set up on a small island in the river. The island was not big, about 1 square kilometer. A tall arena had been built on one side of the island. One side of the arena faced the surging river, which looked magnificent. The other 2 sides had been set up. One side belonged to Long Haisheng of Jiangnan, and the other to Li Ao of Jiangbei. In order not to attract the attention of the authorities, Long Haisheng only brought a speedboat with about 20 people. Not long after they went ashore, another speedboat came from the direction of Jiangbei. Standing at the bow of the boat was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and looked gentle. However, there was a hint of viciousness in his eyes from time to time. He was the underground boss of Jiangbei, Li Ao. Li Ao was similar to Long Haisheng. He did not bring too many people, only about 20 men. Soon, both sides came to the arena, and the battle was about to begin. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.